Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with your host, Agostino Zinga, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of London. What's going on? What's crack-a-lacking? How you doing? How you feeling? Talk to me, darling. Talk to me, darling. What's the deal, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling good. It's been a long time. Hope you are well wherever this lovely podcast may find you. I hope you are doing swimmingly. How have I been? Pretty good, all things considered. I cannot lie. Pretty good, all things considered. It's been a little bit depressing these last couple of days, watching especially the game the other day against Arsenal v Man City, and realizing that at the moment, because I haven't actually done a review of the game against Crystal Palace, but I probably do need to do that. But I'm just looking now at the English Premier League, right? Looking at the English Premier League and looking at the table, even though we're only a few games into the season, the league is already shaping up into what it's going to end up towards the end of the season. The teams who are going to be challenging for the title, for top 4, for top 10 finishes, they are where they should be already. Everybody's kind of jostling for position, but they're kind of where you expect them to be by the end of the season. So I'm looking at the Premier League table right now. Let me get up on the screen so you guys can see too. So I'm not just looking at it for myself. But when I actually take a little sneaky peeky at the actual league table, look at what you see. You already see Man City first, you see Liverpool second, you see Aston Villa third, and Arsenal fourth. And then when you scroll all the way down onto that league table, all the way down to 11th, look who you see. You see Manchester United, my beloved Manchester United in 11th place. The depressing thing about watching Arsenal v Manchester City the other day was that we are so far off from them. That was my realization. I was like, we are so far off from them. It's not even funny. And I was also got to realization that maybe we're actually a mid-table club. Maybe a lot of us United fans, myself included, we're under this false pretense that if we got our football structure intact, if we recruited properly, that somehow overnight we were going to be back to where we belonged. Top, a club that's competing for a league title, not even top 4. Top 4 has never been really in our history. It's never something that we kind of aspire to or see as a trophy. We always kind of laughed at, teams that kind of did that. We were always challenging for the big honours. But ever since Alex Ferguson left, ever since the Glazers have come completely decimated our club, I think the Glazers should be up for war crimes in The Hague. I swear to God. The Glazers should be up for war crimes in The Hague. They should be convicted for war crimes for what they've done to my beloved club. 20 plus years of absolute degradation, absolute, lack of responsibility, and just taking the piss, essentially. Just extracting money from the club, not really putting anything back into the club, which is really strange as well, because even though the Glazers don't care about United, you'd think for businessmen like them, if they would have invested a little bit more into the club, if they would have established a football structure beforehand, if they wouldn't have been so, if they wouldn't have been so micromanagey in terms of the football structure of things or the football side of things, even though they don't know what they're doing and hired so many finance guys, if they actually went for it and tried to get us back to winning things or tried to keep us winning things, they would have made more money. That's the thing that really boggles my mind. But then I think about it, if you're a millionaire or if you're a billionaire and you find an easy way to make money, which is just dividends and extracting money out of the club, why not just take that route? Why would you go through the route of trying to restructure the club, trying to get new people in? It doesn't make any sense. But in my logical brain, I'm thinking to myself, how could people so successful be so neglectful of such a asset like Manchester United, not try to get us back to winning things? Because in the end, if we do win things, they get more money. They get more money, they get more prestige, at a certain level, if you're a billionaire, surely you bought enough helicopters, you bought enough fucking horrible looking watches. The thing that you want to be remembered for is your legacy. You want your legacy to kind of live on. And what better way to have your legacy live on than have United winning Champions Leagues and league titles back to back and FA Cup, all this malarkey, but whatever, it doesn't happen. So now we're in a state where Ineos have come in and they've restructured the club pretty well. They've got some pretty solid people in. Recruitment's, I think, way better than what it was. We've still got a shit manager, I think, in Erik ten Hag, maybe one of the worst managers in the top 10, in my personal opinion, even with the trophies won. But regardless of Erik ten Hag, because most unlikely, there's no point even going on about whether or not I want Erik ten Hag out, which I do. If it was up to me, I'd want him out of the club immediately. He's fucking terrible. He should have never got that extra year deal. But put Erik ten Hag to one side. Looking at Man United right now, no one can tell me, even if we got Pep Guardiola in tomorrow, that we'd be competing for the league. Even the biggest Erik ten Hag hater cannot sit here with their straight face and say to me, if we got Pep Guardiola in tomorrow, we'd win the league. We wouldn't. We're so far off. And that game against Arsenal v Man City was proof of it. And I was wondering to myself, watching Arsenal v Man City, I was like, don't the players miss that? Or the players don't give a shit? Don't the players miss playing in matches where it means something? Do you see how it was at the end? Erling Haaland, like giving it to big un, pushing everybody around, players fighting, players getting sent off, late challenges, tackles, passion, aggression. Arsenal players going, Man City players going toe to toe, bar for bar, ball for ball, managers on the sideline, coaching staff arguing. It was a real rivalry for once, which we've been missing in the league for a while, right? We've been missing that rivalry. Both teams going for it, clearly knowing that those type of games are the ones that really decide titles. Because if you're Man City and Arsenal, you're most likely going to beat most teams in the league. But if you can get those wins head to head against the teams that you're challenging for the league title, that makes a real difference. And they were really going for it. I was thinking to myself, don't our players miss that? Don't our players miss playing in games that actually matter or mean something? At the moment, what are they playing for? Top 4. Europa Conference League. Come on, man. And some of our fans are protecting these donuts, protecting these losers, these underachievers, these fucking job thieves, these wage thieves. People like Luke Shaw and shit. Like, what the fuck is he still doing at the club? Bruno Fernandes, like, untouchable, why? Marcus Rashford, untouchable, why? Like, I don't know, man. Like, we're only a few games in. 5 games played. 5 games played, and United are already 11th. And I've come to realize that United are a mid-table club, mate. I'd never thought I'd say this with my full chest, but my beloved Manchester United are a mid-table club. We are mid-table. Like, that's what we are. As you can see in the table, we are 11th. We're a mid-table club. Wow. And it happens like that. Honestly, it felt like just the other day, I remember watching us, like, win titles and shit, playing against Barcelona in the Champions League final. Like, it feels like just the other day that happened. And then, that's the thing about football, man. Neglect. You sit around, you wait around, and suddenly, things completely change. I don't know. What can we say, man? What can we say? It's honestly crazy. I was looking at that Man City Arsenal game. I was thinking, okay, clearly Man City are, still leaps and bounds probably better than Arsenal. Arsenal did give it a real good going, especially for having 10 men. They didn't really go for the game, but don't expect them to go for it when they're 10 men, for most of the game or most of the second half. Doesn't make sense. But it made me think, like, if Arsenal are still a step behind Man City or a level or 2 behind Man City, how far are we away from Arsenal? If Arsenal aren't as good as Man City, how bad are we then? Because Arsenal are much better than us. So Arsenal are like, whatever that gap is in between, that's how much better they are than us at the moment. And the table's already, like, everything's already moving where it should be. So I don't know, man. It's a mad situation to be in, but I don't know. I just look at it, I think to myself, like, it didn't need to be like this. If Sir Alex Ferguson would have taken more ownership and taken more responsibility and left the club in good hands, not giving it to fucking David Moyes, that would have been a help. But there is the suggestion, people say that Sir Alex Ferguson purposely didn't want Mourinho to get the job after he retired because he was he kind of felt like if Mourinho came in, because if Mourinho would have come in after as Ferguson retired, I think the whole way of United at the moment is completely different. Our history is different. I think if Mourinho comes in while we still have the likes of Rio, Rooney, I think Evra was still there, all these experienced players still there, I think Mourinho could have like plugged in a couple young players at that time when he was still a decent manager, and we would have probably been able to ride the wave, right? And still been able to finish maybe first, second, maybe a good Champions League run here and there. But going from Sir Alex Ferguson to David Moyes, you know, it was just like, it was too far of a drop. And then not having good recruitment, and then getting it wrong again. When, like, it's just like, Ollie, I don't know, man. Football depresses me, bro. Football fucking depresses me. And also, I was watching something else that was very depressing. I'm not too sure if you guys are aware of this. So I was thinking the other day, right? Why is it in the UK, there's this weird thing, I think, in general, when it comes to like deaths, especially when it involves like crimes and gangs and shit. I feel like for some reason, maybe I'm just seeing things, or maybe I'm just like seeing, and I'm not really seeing things the right way. But I feel like when it comes to deaths in the UK, especially involving gangs and shit, especially when it involves like black and white people, I feel like when it's a black person that dies, there's way more of an onus and a focus on the gang side of things. Oh, this kid died because their brother was in a gang. This woman died because the fucking someone that she knows, you know what I mean? There's always like that kind of relation. But I feel like with whites in this country, when they die, it's almost like, it's just they make it seem like it was an quote unquote innocent death. Oh my god, this angel, she passed away, what a tragedy. Don't get me wrong, every death's a tragedy, but surely when it involves actual organized crime, it's probably better to dissuade people, to make it be a cautionary tale, to tell the truth. Because if you try to frame it in a way of like, oh, this was just a woman in the wrong place at the wrong time, it doesn't really do the story justice, and it also makes the person's death almost like meaningless, right? The person died, which is a tragedy, but maybe the lessons that can be learned from it are X, Y, and Z. The reason why I bring this up is this. So this young lady, Ashley Dale, right? R.I.P. Ashley Dale, unfortunately passed away in Liverpool, and I've been watching loads of documentaries about her on whatchamacallit, on YouTube. This particular young lady died, and as it says here in the headline, Ashley Dale found guilty of murder after row in Glastonbury. When they first mentioned it, and it's really gruesome by the way, but just to kind of give you an overview how she passed away, she was at home and two people came in and, you know, basically ransacked her house, pushed the door down, which is actually how it started, was pretty sick. They allegedly put out the tires in her car, which then triggered the car alarm. She then goes to the window to check the car, and then they smash the door down because then now they see that she's in, and then they chase her around the house and end up shooting her around the house. They shoot her around the house. She gets shot, I think 2 or 3 times. She staggers out to the garden and then kind of lays down and bleeds out, and the neighbor calls the ambulance. By that time it's too late. And at the time they were saying, they made it seem as if it was like mistaken identity, as if the people that came to shoot her were meant to go to another house, but that wasn't the case. Watching the documentary, this young lady was dating this dude who was in an organized crime, in an organized gang, right? And unfortunately that guy had a beef with some other dude, some kid he was growing up with, and this beef kind of, I think, originated from somebody getting scammed out of a brick of coke or something. I think somebody was sold coke, they didn't get it, blah blah blah. It was a long protracted beef from like years ago. They hadn't seen each other for years, and obviously bad luck, they bump into each other at Glastonbury. And they get into a little argument, a little spat that kind of reignites their beef. And then when it reignites their beef, the guy that felt like he got slighted from the coke, he says, I'm going to get you back, basically. And that obviously the get back was this, but they thought the guy was going to be in the crib too, but he wasn't in the crib. So when they just saw the girl, they thought, you know what, let me send a message, and they blew her off anyway, right? But in the news, when this was being reported, they never really specified the details of what happened. Essentially, this girl was dating a gangster, right? A criminal. And unfortunately for her, yes, it comes with the trappings and life is good and you get to enjoy what you get to enjoy living that kind of lifestyle. But the negative side of it is when your guy's got beef, that beef is going to fall on your lap as well. That's just the way it goes. The really sad part about this story, though, is that when this girl passed away and the police went and questioned the boyfriend, who was obviously the person in the gang, that obviously his beef is what triggered her to get killed in the first place because she wasn't involved, he refused to cooperate. Like, legit refused to cooperate. Like, legit. And in a weird way, as mad as this may sound, please forgive me, it was a little bit refreshing, because I'm so often used to seeing gangsters in America, especially North America, getting arrested for something, especially on a RICO, and everybody squeals, everybody snitches. Whereas in some ways you think, like, if you're going to choose a life of crime, surely part of the life of crime is knowing that when it's up and when it's down. But the code remains, you just keep quiet. So it was quite refreshing. It was quite refreshing a little bit to see that the boyfriend refused to cooperate with the police, even though his girlfriend got murdered in such a brutal way, in such an evil, callous, cold-hearted way. He refused to cooperate. Allegedly, the mum, which is this woman here on the left-hand side, the mum allegedly went with her new boyfriend or new husband to the guy's house and tried to get him to talk. He still wouldn't talk. Like, he totally refused to cooperate. And then eventually the police end up solving the crime because they figured out, the police end up solving what happened because they were able to get into her phone. So when they got into her phone, they were able to access text messages. And in the iMessages after Glastonbury, I think she was texting a friend or something saying she was really scared and worried and she had a bad feeling. Something bad was going to happen because her boyfriend got into this beef with this guy at Glastonbury who they had a beef with, and she just felt like something bad was going to happen. And through that, they were able to surmise who the guy was, and then obviously investigations led to finding the guy. And I think they found the guy trying to run away or something. He had like a passport and a duffel bag full of money, blah, 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 blah. But all of this happened after the fact, and you have to obviously do a bit of digging. You have to kind of read some of the resources out there to kind of find out what won. But it's just wild to see the difference, because if this woman was black, or if this involved black people, they would have led with the crime aspect and the gang thing on the front, on the, you know, in the beginning. In first, when this was being reported, all you kept seeing was this like pretty girl's face all over the news. Again, every death is tragedy, but surely you have to put the message out there that, hey, this woman, even though she was a quote-unquote law-abiding citizen, she was still dating somebody that she knew who was involved in drug smuggling and whatever immersive may be. And unfortunately, this is the price you have to pay. You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But when it's bad, it's fucking fatal. And to make it even worse, I was watching another documentary which broke my heart the worst way, because this one involved a 9-year-old girl, bruh. 9-year-old girl called Olivia Pratt-Korbel. And this story is even worse because, again, the UK media made it seem like, again, innocent. Obviously, this girl's way more innocent than the previous one. She's completely innocent, right? When it's a fucking child. But the mum of this particular young girl, Olivia Korbel, which this lady over here, the mother was dating this guy who was a real big gangster. I think, was it in Manchester or somewhere? I think, whatever, I'm not too sure where. But this guy here on the right hand side, he's a well-known leader of some organized crime family up there. I think in Manchester, Liverpool, I don't know which place. Don't fucking get me for the details. I'm just talking out my house here. So unfortunately for this guy, he was the big shot in his area, and this particular dude, the killer, didn't like that guy was a big shot in the area, and he wanted to take him out to have the whole area for himself. So one day he just decided on a whim. This guy's not even part of a gang. He's just like a solo dude, like by himself. He just decided one day on a whim to just take the dude out. So he sees him walking down the street with his wife and his daughter, pulls out the gun and just starts firing. And as he's firing, I think he hits the guy a couple of times. He might have hit the woman, but then the woman and the kid run back in, and they close the door. And then when they close the door, the guy's still trying to get in and he's shooting through the door. And as he shoots through the door, I think he shoots through the door, he shoots and it hits the woman's hand. And then when he shoots the second time, he unfortunately shoots the little girl, the little angel. Unfortunately, she passes away. And obviously it's really tragic, but they made it seem like it was just like a random drive-by shooting where this young girl gets killed. But unfortunately for the young lady, for the young daughter, for the young girl here, her mum or her dad was the leader of an organized crime gang. Now, she wasn't to know this, but this again is part of the life, and you'd imagine the dad would be super pissed off with that and wanted to see the killer go in jail. And again, another instance where he didn't cooperate with the police either. His daughter died, bruh. His daughter died and he didn't cooperate with the police. Refused to cooperate. It was only the mum that was kind of, cooperating and making sure that the killer was brought to justice. And in the end, I think the reason why they caught him, if I'm not mistaken, which is even worse, this is even sickening. The reason why they caught him is because they were able to get a confidential informant, a snitch, to basically come in and say, yeah, he was the guy that did it. Because allegedly after the shooting, again, this guy's a little bit, maybe low IQ gangster. After the shooting, he allegedly went to the house of some girl that he used to see. He goes to the house, he bangs on the door. The girl's in the house, but she's in the house with her new boyfriend. New boyfriend says, oh my god, it's that guy, innit? Like, he's a known dude, he's scary. What should we do? Open the door, she says. They open the door, and then he goes to her, you're the only person I trust, so can you give me a new change of clothes? So this guy that she used to see before is now in her house with a strap after a shooting with a new boyfriend asking for a new change of clothes. She, I don't know, panics, gets him whatever she can find, whatever, she gives it to him, he changes, and he ducks. So those are the only people that could really say they saw it, because they literally gave him the clothes. And she could obviously say the clothes that she gave him, because I think it was some Under Armour trousers or something. So they found out who it was. The confidential informant says they want to provide information, but then the police go extra hard and tell them they have to fucking really do it. And then I guess the people get scared. They're afraid they're gonna get they're gonna get, the guy's gonna come and kill them. So they run away, or they attempt to flee. The police then arrest them and charge them for assisting this murder. Like, they try and give that charge to them and shit. So then they kind of force them into a corner to actually cooperate and to actually kind of, stand up in court and kind of point him out and stuff. And then obviously the girl kind of confesses everything that happened prior, that she used to see him before, and that he was really nice to her, and he was the only one that kind of looked at her and paid her attention, all this sort of soppy shit. And then in the end, they ended up kind of making them move homes, because they ended up snitching on this guy, and the community didn't accept them back. So even though this guy went to prison, and obviously I think he's in prison now for, I don't know, fucking life and shit, the people that basically put him in prison had to move. They had to get put in witness protection. Obviously the mum is now without her daughter, her family's been broken. Like, just loads of people's families' lives got destroyed through the back of this one murder. But it was just wild to see that in the reporting of it, there wasn't really that much of an onus, I felt like, on the fact that the mother was very irresponsible, I feel like, in my humble opinion, for being in a relationship with somebody who was obviously such a high-ranking, feared, maybe prone to being murdered fucking gangster guy. It's like, bruh, like, if you're gonna date someone like that, maybe don't bring a kid into it. Do you know what I mean? Because unfortunately, whatever beef he gets into, it's gonna fall in your laps as well. So either something happens to you, or something tragic happens to the daughter, and unfortunately something happened to her. So R.I.P. Olivia Pratt-Korbel, R.I.P. Ashley Dale. But I really do wish in the UK they would be a little bit more honest, a little bit more fair with their coverage when it comes to these sort of gangland shootings, and actually talk about the real, so that people could actually know, hey, this is the consequences of living that life. You don't just, there are always pros and cons with it. But when you try and frame it as like, oh, it's just some random innocent girl just walking, it's like, nah, bro. Like, this is a gangland hit. They tried to kill the dad escaped, and then unfortunately the daughter kind of was killed in the crossfire. So RIP to those two young ladies. RIP, RIP. Moving on, I also wanted to mention that this weekend is a pretty good weekend for clubs. Not gonna lie, especially here in London, there's some pretty good events that I wanted to quickly mention that I've got my eye on. Two specifically I'm gonna go to, but just in general to kind of give you an overview of what's going on. So big up RA have kind of highlighted a couple events here. We've got Diplo happening in the Roundhouse here in London, which will be a pretty sick night, especially featuring DJ Holographic, who I'm a big fan of. Party Boy 69 is also playing in London this weekend. You got a Defected Night that's happening, and then the two events that I'm actually really hyped to go to this weekend is number one, Tech Couture in Fold, alongside with Night Service and maybe Boudica, to some of their best nights that they do there. This particular night they got Funk Assault playing, Legend, Philippa, Pacho, Blue Hour, Friedrich and Kyver. It's going to be a really, oh shit, there's some back-to-backs as well happening. So it's going to be Bessie Maybe, DJ OT, Blue Hour back-to-back with Philippa, Pacho, Debbie back-to-back with Donna, Friedrich back-to-back with Kyver, Funk Assault, and then we also got a back-to-back with Alarico and Clark. How long is this event happening? That's a lot of people. Oh shit, it's till 9 a.m. Okay, it's especially, this is extended hours one. That's probably why. So this extended hours one from 11 p.m. till 9 a.m. in the morning, which is gonna be fucking crazy. You've also got voice join James Newmarsh, Oliver, back to back with Willem, Two Boots playing, Paige from Night Service, back to back with Shield. Yeah, this is gonna be a banger. So I'm definitely gonna be there. So definitely check that out if you are looking for a place to go. Mostly I'm gonna say mostly techno. They say house here, but I'm gonna say most of the people here are gonna be playing a version of techno. But the other event that I'm really eager to go to, especially this is gonna be from 11 till 9 a.m. This is something, because again, I haven't been out in a while. And I always say this, but this is I'm definitely gonna follow through this time around. I'm definitely gonna do it, so I can, because I actually wanna review this night as well and let you guys know who I was impressed with and whatnot, and who fucking smashed it. And obviously still some DJ techniques as per usual when I go out. But the other one that I'm really excited to go to actually is the last event actually of this residency. So big up Gerd Janson. So Gerd Janson, one of my favorite DJs all around. I probably call him probably one of the best quote unquote party DJs in the scene, because he's kind of what people would deem to be open format. He plays all genres, but maybe a good way to describe him would be he's like a disco and a house DJ. Gerd Janson had a residency at Phonox, which I just had found out about today, like a fucking idiot. 4 Fridays at Phonox. Obviously this Friday coming up is the last one, but it also might be the best one. Gerd Janson back with Krystal Klear, bro. So this might be a bit of a mad one, but what I might end up doing, even though this is in Brixton and Tech Couture is going to be in Fold, which is in East London, Canning Town, I might have to try, actually, which I don't usually do, go out before fucking 11 p.m. on a Friday, try and get there for that 9:30 or 10 p.m. and see, because it's them all night basically. Gerd Janson, Krystal Klear, try see them play at least until about 12, and then jump in an Uber or in the train and then head to Fold and then go there. But the only problem is that I'm pretty sure Tech Couture is going to be ram jammer, because it's, you know, it's until 9. It's a very well followed and well liked night, and all the DJs playing here are fucking legends, especially Funk Assault. Just put out a new album actually, I think the other week as well. So everybody's gonna be happy to see people. You know, everyone's gonna be excited to see people play here. Philippa, Pacho. Obviously you got flipping what's her name, Paige from Night Service will be there too. So I'm assuming they're gonna bring up a couple of people down as well. So it's gonna be super ram. Already you got 703 people here interested. So clearly it's gonna be a busy one. But I'm gonna try and do it. I've not done this in a long time. This is like actual club hopping, going from one place to another in the same night. It's pretty hard in London sometimes, because even though south and east aren't that far apart on the map, it's a bit of a ball ache to get to them after 12. So I'm even thinking, but that's a problem. If I try and go on my bike, I don't have to change my outfits, you know? If you know what you know, because I've got a fixie. Or maybe I'll jump on a line bike. That's what I might do. I might jump on a line bike, because I've got a fixie. I can't really wear the stuff that I want to wear on a fixie, but if I jump on a line bike, I probably can be able to go from here to here. But we'll see, we'll work it out. But in general, 2 really fucking banging nights. Gerd Janson and Krystal Klear at Phonox on the 27th, this Friday, and of course Tech Couture featuring Funk Assault, Philippa, Pacho, and a few other people on there that I'm sure all of you people will be super excited to see. So I'm really excited to see that and how it plays out in the next couple of days. I'm really excited to see that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very pumped to go to this event. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, big up those are my 2 things happening on the weekend. And then I think actually on the Saturday, because I think actually this might be actually a big, maybe one of my most busiest weekends out in a long time. I think this Sunday actually is Unfold, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's an Unfold this Sunday also, so that's also what I might be able to do. So I'm gonna be going on both fronts. I'm going to be going out on a Friday twice, and then get a break on a Saturday, and then go out on a Sunday. And then I think the plan is as well, after being inspired playing the other day, big up Bond and those guys over there, the plan is also to go to Pirate and record a little DJ session as well. So keep an eye out on the fucking main page of my YouTube channel. I'll be uploading that full mix very soon. Obviously when I record it on the Saturday, I'll probably upload it on the same day. I probably won't be live streaming them anymore. I think it might be just best just to kind of record them beforehand and then just kind of upload them later on. Like I think everyone else does that now. I think even Boiler Room stopped really live streaming DJ sets. I think the only people that do that now are Whore and a few other people, but I think everybody kind of like pre-records their sets now. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because of like copyright infringement, I don't know. But either way, I'm probably going to record one for the Saturday, and then obviously upload that for you guys to check out. So it should be a lot of DJing, a lot of dancing, a lot of side to side stepping. That should be really good, and probably a lot of multivitamins will be ingested at some point during that night. You know what I mean? A lot of Sam Tripoli multivitamins should be ingested. You feel me? A lot of Sam Tripoli multivitamins. Big up in the stream chat. What are you guys saying here? Big up Don Dotto. What's good? Pie Boy 69 looks fine. Yeah. I think on another day, if this is another weekend, I'd probably go see Pie Boy 69. Obviously he's blown up immensely over the last few years, especially with the live streams. But I'd like to see what he's like live, you know, just to see what the vibe is like. He seems really fun. And he's really good, actually. Obviously all the antics are what they are, but as an actual DJ, he's really fucking good. Like, legit. Like, take away all the fucking theatrics and the fucking green screen and everything. Like, as an actual DJ, he's really fucking good. I'm not gonna lie. So I would actually like to see him, but Gerd Janson's literally one of my favorite DJs ever, and I love Krystal Klear Productions and shit, and as a DJ. So to see them both play, especially in a club like Phonox, which I don't think I've actually been to be honest, so that should be a good for the first time. I can't miss that. And then of course Tech Couture, I've always been a fan of their nights. I haven't been to one of their nights in a long time, so I'm curious to go see that. That should be a fun one. So I can't really miss any of those 2 hours. I'd love to go to all of them, but unfortunately in London, the opening times of clubs don't permit you to go to everything. I think the maximum clubs you can actually go to is probably 2. I swear to God, because even if you got Ubers in between, you're probably not be able to get into most places. Fold might be a bit more easier because I think this time is open at 9 until 9. So most likely they might push the last entry time a bit, because I think last entry at Fold usually is 3 AM. But this time, because it ends at 9, maybe last entry might be 5 or 6, which might make it a little bit more advantageous. But I'd probably prefer to go and see some of the main performers play, you know, from 1. I probably think if I was to guess, I would assume Funk Assault, Philippa, Pacho, and all them lot will be playing from like 1 AM onwards. So I'm probably gonna go do that instead. So if I can fit those two, not if I'm going to fit those 2 in, let's make sure our words are fucking, you know, our words are actionable and intense and have intent behind them, and no doubt. So when I do that, I'll obviously report back and let you guys know Wagwan and how it was. Little Brow's performing. Big up Jordan Raynar. I don't think Little Brow's allowed on that lineup. Big up Don Dr. Dibda just played here in Brooklyn last weekend. A lot of people said his set was mid. Yeah. I don't know. Oof, what happened there? Caught my breath. I don't know. The Diplo thing, I'm just fascinated by his professionalism. I'm not gonna lie. His ability to just keep chugging on is fucking fascinating. Allegations keep coming out about him, but he doesn't miss a beat, bro. He just keeps on trucking. He keeps on posting first traps. He keeps on playing in all these amazing places. He's booked and busy. He's never been more booked and busy. I feel like now, I feel like he's even more popular now than he was back in Major Lazer days. Diplo, I feel like, even though he's got more allegations on his name now, I think that's weird, but I honestly do think he's way more popular than he's ever been. But yeah, Diplo just keeps going. Like, fair play to him, man. He just keeps going. He does not stop. Chin only performs at his home state. Is Chin on vocals? Big up Andy Ward. Big up Young Old Vibes. Wagwan. Long time, my G. What do they allege? Just your usual sex pest stuff in it. I don't think it's anything crazy. I don't think he's like doing anything to underage girls, but it's just girls basically alleging that he's not the greatest person to hang about with in private. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, again, I'm talking out my ass here, so please forgive me, but I don't think there's any grape allegations. I'm pretty sure there's no grape allegations. I'm pretty sure all it is just like straight up him being a sex pest, essentially. But again, I don't know what to make of it, because it feels like nothing is stuck so far. Nothing has really gone anywhere. The gigs don't stop, so maybe there's not really much truth to it. I don't really fucking know. Big up, sorry, I can't even, how do you pronounce your name? Is it Z Big Nui Pizrisky? I'm not sure if is that Polish or something. Big up you, mate. Good on you. DJ gig recently. By the way, did you go to Berghain this summer? No, I didn't go out all this year, but I'm going to be going towards the end of the year because I've got a couple of things I want to go and attend. Most likely my next time we're going is probably be December, because for the 20th anniversary, I think that's like December 13th or something, if I'm not mistaken, the 20th anniversary of Berghain, so I'll probably be there for that. But I'm also trying to go to Open Ground before the end of the year. They've got like a Freddie K event happening, and I think DVS1 is also playing, so I want to go at least one of those ones. So I'm trying to like push my Berlin Berghain experience until the end of the year, because I go there all the time. Do you know what I mean? I fucking rinse it too much. I'm there too much. You know what I mean? Like one year I went there like 6 times. Like it's a lot. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to do things before that. But if I next go, it'll probably be for the 13th. Yeah, that's it. The 13th of December. That's when the 20th anniversary is on. So I'll probably go there. That should be good. It's gonna be fucking busy, but I love it. I love it. I'm not gonna lie. Part of me fucking loves the initiation process of having to queue up like 4 hours to go to a nightclub. Like, obviously I'm a loser for doing it. Clearly, obviously I have zero, things going for me in my life where I can waste 4 to 6 hours in the queue. But when I finally did get in, one of my best nights ever. So especially for a tourist like myself, I feel like even though it's probably not the best in time investment, but I feel like the lineup for the 20th anniversary is going to be stacked. So if I do go for one time in the year, that's the time I will prefer to go, instead of going like a New Year's Eve or New Year's Day event. That's going to be too hype. I prefer to go to that before, like that would be a sick time to go, because I imagine a lot of people are probably waiting to go to the New Year's event, which is usually really packed. So yeah, we'll wait and see what I'll go on with that one. What's going a bit dumb dot, so it's like, yeah, Diplo for sure is bigger these days, always gets invited back to Burning Man every year and sells out big venues everywhere. He's just great openers. He's just got great openers at his shows though. Yeah, of course. He's good at what he does, man. He's good at what he does. Simple as that. He's good at what he does. No one can say he's not good at what he does. He's fucking good at what he does. He's been about for ages. He's actually a professional too. He seems like one of those weird people too. I feel like he's like Ozzy Osbourne a little bit. Even though I know he's on his health tip and he runs a lot, he does marathons and works out, I feel like he's a bit like Ozzy Osbourne. He also has that, I don't have it, I wish I did, but at the moment, when I get on it and I do sessions and stuff, it takes me out for the entire fucking weekend, sometimes week. I feel like Diplo's also lucky that he's incredible hard worker, but he also has that ability to just like keep on. Like, he can get fucked up, but he still turns up on time. Like, you don't really hear about him being like, yes, he might perform shit, but you don't hear stories about him. Because other DJs, you hear stories about them like performing and they're all fucked up on stage, and clearly they let the lifestyle kind of get the better of them. Diplo seems to be still like, I think that's why he's been around for so long. Like, you know what you're going to get from him. He's got the hits. He appeals to like the mainstream for the most part. He can do everything. He can do a Boiler Room. He can do an Ibiza place, Miami, Dubai, Burning Man. Like, he's really broad into his ability to kind of play to kind of any sort of crowd, anywhere from like a warehouse rave to like a massive fucking arena somewhere. So he's cemented. You know what I mean? He's cemented. So unfortunately for the victims, actually, the ones who are trying to get him kind of quote unquote cancelled, he's not going to go anywhere anytime soon easily, because people make a lot of money out of Diplo, and he makes people a lot of money too. So yeah, for sure. Big up you, man. Big up my Polish man them. I heard Krakow's actually a good spot to rave at as well. People talk about that being a good spot to go and check out. Big up Chris Mack. Wild how the Glazers neglect United in favour of the TB Buccaneers. Exactly. Meanwhile, John Henry's getting Red Sox, treating them like cash cow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, billionaire things. Exactly. To be fair, like, even though I'm saying, oh, it's easy if you're a billionaire, just try and you can make more money. Why would you? If you don't need to try, if you can just keep fit. It's like the guy for the New York Knicks, the guy that owns the New York Knicks. Like, he's got like a band and stuff. Like, like, why bother trying to make the New York Knicks good again and try to make them win a championship when you can just keep, like, there's no relegation in the NBA. They're in one of the most popular, if not best cities in the world. Like, owning that sort of franchise, it's basically an ATM forever. Why would you bother even trying? Why bother trying to recruit the best players and trying to put the best team together? Like, if you can just kind of keep on keeping on and keep the lights on, couple Kip collaborations here and there, and everybody's happy. Big up, yeah. I remember some at Berlin, how flipping skinny the geezers and birds were. Like these people look like skeletons in harnesses are kinky horny as hell too. God, man. Like these whole what? I remember this summer at Berghain how flipping skinny the geezers and birds were, like these beautiful odd looking little skeletons in harnesses and kinky get-ups, horny as hell too, got mad looks from the females and the guys. A little action in the dark room, no gay stuff though. Bruh, you don't have to explain yourself here, man. You don't have to explain yourself here. Whatever you get up to in the dark rooms, whatever you get up to in the dark room, what happens in Berghain stays in Berghain. We accept all people here. We don't discriminate. Whatever you get up to, you know what I mean, whether it's whether it's that way or this way, it's all good. You know what I mean? When that sound and that fucking when that sound system hits you, when those multivitamins hit you, you know what I mean? When that drink hits you, oof, it's a good vibe. Actually, I'm thinking when I next go, actually, the one place I've never been to, funnily enough, in Berghain is the fucking what's it called? Is the ice cream bar. Funnily enough, I've never been to the ice cream bar. I've never actually been there. I've never bought anything from there. Like I know it exists, but I've never actually been up there. I don't think I've even sat up there because the ice cream bar is like, it's like on the floor of Berghain, but it's like towards the toilets and there's like a little seating area bit, and you could basically, you know, get an ice cream and shit. But I've never been there ever. So next time I go, I'm definitely gonna make sure I check out the ice cream bar, because most of the time I'm spending my time fucking, you know, talking to strangers in the toilet cubicles for hours and hours about how we can fix nightlife and you know, about harm reduction and society and Brexit. I remember, I think that was one of the best times actually going to Berghain when the whole Brexit thing was happening. Having those like really fierce, passionate debates about it in the Berghain toilets with like lesbians and gay guys and people in between. Like, just, it was so fun, man. Just 8 of you in there, just jaw swinging from side to side, thinking you're gonna solve all the world's problems. Like, the naivety and the optimism of nightlife, mate. Who would change it? Who would change it? Not me, not bloody me. Anyway, moving on. What do you guys think about this feature? So it's been revealed recently, courtesy of Popbase and Twitter and X and shit. Twitter, Elon Musk has a very interesting approach about the block feature. They're looking to change it. So Twitter and X are changing the blocks feature. Your posts will be visible to anyone you block, but they will not be able to engage with them. So essentially, block across all social media platforms basically means you're cut off from seeing that person ever on your timeline. You can't see their post. You can't see anything about them. You're just completely denied any access. But now I guess Elon is now pushing for a feature that allows people to block you so you cannot engage with them, but they can still see your post, which I think is kind of cool. But I'd imagine if you're somebody that feels like you have to block people, you're going to find this really annoying. For someone like myself, I'm a stern believer. I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer that if you're a man with a penis between your legs and balls hanging between your legs, blocking other people is incredibly lame. If you're a man, I feel like you should have a little bit more self-control and the ability to just like turn the other cheek or just put your phone down and go outside. It's not that deep, really and truly. Like I don't think in my life, I honestly don't think I've blocked anybody in my entire life. It's just I don't care that much ever. And I feel like blocking somebody, especially if you're a guy, it makes you look like you care way too much than what you should do. But I understand some people get so much abuse sometimes that the block feature is actually a way for them to maintain their own peace, right? But I feel like, you know, that kind of digital middle finger to people is a bit strange. But regardless, everyone does it. Everyone kind of approaches social media a different way. But I feel like on Twitter, it's probably the better way to go about it, because me personally, I don't block people. I think it's lame. And I think it kind of shows that you're probably been touched way too much about what someone's done that you probably should be letting on. And 2, I don't have the time or the or the desire or the willingness to open up another account just to see what you post. It's not that deep. I don't give a fuck, you know? So I feel like for people like myself who maybe would like to see the post from the account, because I think, especially on X, like people, I think on X, because it's like, because on Twitter it's like you're sharing your opinions and you're sharing your point of views and whatever, you're probably more, I'd imagine you're probably more prone to get blocked on Twitter by randoms than you would be on Instagram, I'd imagine, because on X you're sharing your account. So I think if somebody saw a comment or a viewpoint from you on Twitter and didn't like it, I can understand them being, oh, I don't fuck with what this guy's talking about, block, mute, you know. But I feel like sometimes some accounts, I don't know, maybe it's a news account. For instance, for me, it's a news account, right? The news account that posts music news, I think it's Kuruku. It's spelled Currco. They're really big on Twitter and shit, and they always posting cool music stuff and updating you on what's going on, blah blah blah. And obviously the other one that I also like is NFR. And I was wondering, I was checking one time to see what, you know, what they're posting, to see new, because every Friday they post like new album releases and shit. I went to go check one time. I was like, I'm blocked. Why am I blocked by like a media publication site? Like, what the fuck did I say? Or like, I don't ever direct, you know what I mean? I'm not atting people when I'm saying things. I'm just saying stuff on my own timeline. I was like, I don't even remember or know what I might have said that would have got me blocked from a Kuruku account. But imagine if CNN blocked you. Imagine for some reason the social media manager of CNN was on the account and just blocked your account, but then you can't see CNN post. You're not seeing news now. So I think this feature will be good for that sort of stuff. Like if those sort of accounts, media platforms and stuff, media publications, news sites, blah, 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 that you're still able to see the post. But I think for people, it might cause some problems. I'm not going to lie, because there's a lot of people on Twitter that probably, you know, they probably use the block function as a way to kind of make sure people that they find annoying, they don't get to see a lot, you know. But I feel like if you're someone like, you know, if you're somebody who's been blocked by Lex Friedman, for instance, right, and I'm one of the victims, again, never interacted with him personally, ever even added him, I don't think, I swear to God. If you're somebody that's been randomly blocked by Lex Friedman and shit, and you want to see what he's posting, I'm not going to go to the effort of making another account to see what Lex Friedman's posting. Jeremy, it's not that deep. But if you're still able to see his post, that's going to be beneficial. You know what I mean? So you can just see what's going on. You can be kept abreast of what's happening on that kind of intellectual dark web side of things, you know, all those grifters and shit. But I'm curious to see if this becomes something other social media platforms also roll out, like Instagram. And maybe Instagram probably wouldn't do it because it involves, like, you know, videos and pictures and shit. Maybe the whole premise of someone blocking your Instagram is almost like them saying, I don't want to be your friend anymore, right? I think Instagram block is probably way more personal than a block on Twitter. I think a block on Twitter is more so, hey, I'm just protecting my peace. I don't really fuck with your viewpoint. You're a fucking whatever. I'm a this. You're a right. You know, you're maybe a conservative. I'm maybe a liberal. Whatever. Maybe I don't want to see your stuff. Or, but I feel like on Instagram, if someone does block you, it's probably for a good reason, right? It's probably for a just reason. So maybe just leave that as it is and don't let people to go that way, because I think if you allow people to kind of still see people's posts on Instagram, that could get into a creepy status. They could be like stalking shit. It could get really dark really quickly. But I'm interested to see how this kind of rolls out, because I feel like whenever this happens, these sort of features happen, other social media platforms usually copy them. It's not usually done in a silo. Other social media platforms are like, oh yeah, shit, that's a good idea, I want to do that as well. So most likely we'll see other platforms also roll this out in the future. But I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. Really curious to see how it's going to work out. Let me quickly read some comments on here regarding people. Some actual replies straight away. People saying here, you can already do that from a burner account, but again, I'm not ever going to open a burner account, never happening. Another person here says, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Another person says here, Elon is literally annoying. The whole point of block is to remove somebody from being able to monitor or interact with you. This is only going to cause people to log into other accounts to harass. But that's the thing though, I think this is more beneficial for people that have been blocked, like again, by media publications, right? That, or like news platforms. That's probably more beneficial. I think if you've been blocked by an individual for being annoying, I don't know, but I don't know as well, how would you police that? You know, I don't know. It continues. Another person here says, then what is the point of the block button? Very good point. Another one says, this is actually the worst ever feature in X history. Truly can't stand Mr. Krabs without his shell looking ass. What? They call Elon Mr. What's Mr. Krabs? They say Elon looks like Mr. Krabs. Really? I don't think so. Why did... Oh, maybe the body. Okay, maybe the body. That's so funny. I've never heard of people saying Elon looks like Mr. Krabs. That's such a random insult. Like, I never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense, isn't it? He kind of does look a little bit like Mr. Krabs. Oh, That's a good one actually. I'm not going to lie. Big up this person. If someone says fuck you, Elon, another says let's engage with them. I have a few words for this hoe. Wow, okay. What's even the point of this? This is so tea. I'm now showing up on 600,000 more people's timelines. We don't want it. This app is so much better when Jack was CEO. I don't think so. I think Twitter, unpopular opinion, yes, there's way more racism on here. There's way more legitimate white supremacists on here, like guys that dropping the hard ER, telling you to go back to your country, like race science. Like there's some crazy shit going on Twitter now. It's pretty insane. It's pretty intense. But I have to say, I much prefer it now. I much prefer the way it is now, because you get to like, you can really fire from the hip. You can say some flagrant shit on here now, and it makes it more fun. But you also see some crazy shit. Like you see some of those accounts that have like Roman soldier fucking avatars and shit. They be posting some crazy shit about black people. Like they really don't like anybody that isn't white, and they make it known. So yeah, it has its negatives, but I do enjoy the experience of it. I think Twitter before was too nerfed. You had to be really careful of what you say because you might get suspended and shit. It was annoying. Mind you, he's only doing this because half of the platform has him blocked. That's funny. No, I don't think that's true. I think that's the opposite. I think he's probably only doing it because he blocks so many people. But he also wouldn't mind if you check his tweets. He just doesn't want to talk to you. I think that's actually the opposite, personally. Especially someone like a Brett Weinstein or Brett Weinstein, whatever you say his name. That guy's always begging Elon to get him unblocked and shit. But I think he's probably trying to correct or trying to fix that sort of issue. Like, how about if I don't mind this guy checking my tweets, but I just don't want to talk to him, you know? You're telling me I have to see all the Gore accounts I blocked. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I never thought about that. That's a good point. There are a lot of those accounts, innit? The accounts that legitimately show you, like, I saw one the other day of a woman getting fucking trampled over by a tram. It's her fault, obviously, because she doesn't look up. She crosses the crossing, the tram tramples over her and cuts off her fucking leg. Like crazy shit. Like some of those accounts are wild. Like obviously the famous one, I think it's a place somewhere in South America where the gang like wears some gang basically ambushes another gang while they're at some cafe, and they literally empty the entire fucking drum clip inside of these guys. They're like on the floor crawling, trying to get back into the cafe, and it's just kind of covering them in bullets. And you see all that stuff on there. So me personally, I like that shit. So I follow some of these accounts, you know. I'm one of those freaks. I'm a public freak out subreddit guy, so I like those accounts. But if you're somebody that doesn't like that sort of stuff and you purposely block them so you don't need to see that level of gore or like police, you know, brutality videos and shit, or police killing people and shit, you're gonna be really pissed off. Hundreds thought that they could escape me. Exactly. I just thought that they could escape me. Stalking exes is about to be historic again. I would never do this personally. Like, you know, I'm never ever gonna stalk somebody that I was in a relationship with prior. Like if it ended, it ended. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean, it is what it is. But I think, you know, I think other accounts probably good. What's this person saying? Great day for people like me who are blocked by 20k people. How do you even check that? This person checked and their account is blocked by 14,621 people. If you needed a metric of how annoying you were, that's probably what you were doing it. Imagine that. Imagine them thinking you're not the problem. Imagine being blocked by 14,000 people and still thinking you're not the problem. Fucking hell. This is 100% because Elon thinks he will increase the viewership because everyone blocks ad companies and now they will still see the post. Oh, interest. Do people do that? I just scroll past. Honestly, people are so sensitive on the internet. Like if I see a post that says ad on the top right hand corner, I just keep on scrolling past. You know? Like, I don't know. That's what I do. I don't bother. You know, like I don't bother blocking. If I see an ad on the corner, I don't block just so I don't see the ad anymore. It's an ad. Like, it's not that deep. People are so sensitive. What's the point? I'm coming for you, Anika, blah, 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 blah. So that's the premise. That's the premise going on there. Again, I don't think this is gonna sit well with a lot of people. With myself, I'm for it. Like I said, I'd like to see some news posts from accounts that have blocked me, but I'm also aware that most people who do block do it for good reason, and they're probably not going to be too happy when they find out that people who they've tried to get out of their digital life are going to be right back in there oogling everything that they do. It's probably not going to be a good thing in the long run, but again, it's Elon's Twitter world. We have to just sit by and see how it plays out, innit? That's what we have to do, sit by and see how it plays out. But what can we do? What can we do? Absolutely jack nothing. What are you guys saying in the stream chat about this? Imagine being, exactly, big up Chris Mack, imagine being scared of seeing alternative opinions to your own, letting it affect you to such a degree. Unreal what the internet has done to some people's man. Yeah, exactly. I think it's different when you're like a celebrity. I'd imagine that sort of input, that sort of like feedback is probably a bit dizzying and can really corrupt and fuck with your brain. So I think it's probably beneficial to block people, or most probably the better way to do it, especially if you're at a certain level of a celebrity, probably get some people to handle your social media. You can handle it from time to time, but day to day they handle it, because I don't think it's normal, natural, and it's it's a good thing for your fucking mental to be, taking in that much input. It's just from random people online. It's just too much. So I think the block button for celebrities is actually pretty important. What are you guys saying here? I'm confused. Are we starting to talk about blocking people from being able to send you messages, or are we talking about blocking? No, big up Shades Cow. I think this feature is about, you can block somebody from engaging with you, but I think on Twitter that you won't be able to, they'll still be able to see your tweets. So they're not going to be able to, engage with you, DM you, at you, nothing, reply to your tweets, but they can see your timeline. I think that's basically what's going on. Which I think on Twitter probably makes sense for how it is. I don't know. For me, it makes sense. I could be mistaken, but I think it makes sense. Big up. What are you guys saying here? Who's this guy? Who's Poke Red Blue? You used to make videos crapping on Brendan. 30 live viewers, you're actual loser. Yeah, hey man, you got to start from somewhere. The videos crapping on Brendan are still there. Random Show channel. Check my main page to see that Random Show. That's where all that stuff goes on. But there will be no crapping on Brendan on this particular place at the moment. So, if that makes me a loser, then so be it, my friend. Big L on my face. I still can't believe Chin ate that freehold fish. Yeah, we'll talk about that on another one. Honestly, oh my God, he's the best. He is the best. I swear to God, I fucking love Chin. But anyway, let's move on. For the sake of it, let's move on. Next one I'm going to talk about regarding John Summit. John Summit decided to share his opinion regarding Boiler Room, and I think it's really interesting personally, because it's odd, because John Summit tweeted this earlier on his Twitter, quote tweeting this post that featured Rebecca Black playing a Friday 360 mashup at her Boiler Room set. So Rebecca Black, you know who Rebecca Black, for the viral hit that she did when she was a literal teenager, I think, or maybe even younger. Friday, gotta get down on Friday shit. She's grown up into a very attractive and buxom young lady, and she now does music herself, right? And I guess she now DJs. She did the Boiler Room, clearly. I think it's probably a mix between a DJ set and probably a live set. Anyway, it's not out yet, but somebody recorded a little clip from it and posted it, and obviously people are going a bit crazy for it. John Summit decided to quote tweet it and say, "That's it, Boiler Rooms are dead." And the funny thing about it is that he could be right. I just feel like he's the wrong messenger. He might be right. Boiler Room might be dead. Maybe Rebecca Black appearing at Boiler Room is a sign that it is dead. But I think John Summit is in no place to say anybody is dead or not dead, because he's really shit. His music is terrible. That EDM stuff that he makes is like legitimate like ear rape shit. Lowest common denominator of music. Like, personally, as a human being, again, I like how he speaks, how he comes across in interviews and shit. I think he's got some really nuance and grown up and very smart, insightful opinions on electronic music and DJing and professionalism and all this malarkey, and he's got a good, like, you know, kind of origin story and shit, kinda. But as even his face, like, he might have one of the most punchable faces you've ever seen in like dance music ever, especially as a DJ, ever. So it's weird to see him basically trying to say Rebecca Black is corny and lame, and now we should like all not watch Boiler Room anymore because Rebecca Black's on it. If anything, Rebecca Black is, I would say, way cooler, in my opinion, way cooler than John Summit. I would much rather spend $100 to see Rebecca Black play somewhere than John Summit play somewhere. And also, why does he feel like he should be the arbiter of what's dead or not dead anyway, especially when it comes to Boiler Room? Like, it could be argued Boiler Room's been dead for ages. Ever since that OG guy sold it, it's always been dead. I think, didn't he sell it to like Dice or something for like millions and millions and millions? Ever since, I don't know, people could argue Boiler Room's been dead ever since they had like Ray-Ban collaborations and shit. Like, he wasn't even there when it began. Like, I was. I'm sure a few of you other people out there were probably there also. Back when Boiler Room used to be at the pickle factory in Hackney and shit. Like, yeah, okay, maybe we can say Boiler Room is dead because we got to see like some legendary acts like in the beginning, right? Floating Points, Jamie XX, all these people who are legends now in the game, you know, doing some great stuff in the beginning. But why is John Summit acting like he was there and now, oh my god, it's so dead? Like, you weren't even there. But maybe this is like a new thing with like younger kids and shit. Maybe it's like they have this like weird sense of like ownership and like, I don't know, like gatekeeping of a scene, of a time in culture and music that you weren't even present for. Like, if anything, a Boiler Room, it could be argued, and I would definitely stand by this because I feel like Boiler Room gets a lot of unfair slack, because I feel like it's probably a very hard business model to make sense monetarily. I think in the beginning they probably should have done the right thing and paid everybody. I think they probably fucked in the beginning when they were not paying people and saying, oh, it's an opportunity, right? That's a bit obviously scummy because they're clearly getting a lot of money in. They're putting on these big events, they're selling tickets and shit, pay the DJs. But I think overall, Boiler Room's probably done more good, in my opinion, for nightlife, dance music, and DJs' careers than it's done negative. Personally, it's probably done way more across the time it's been around. And if anything, the way it's been able to reinvent itself without kind of losing its kind of core and what it's about all these years has been really, really impressive. And I feel like, if anything, the fact that they haven't really gone too far commercial, where somebody like a John Summit could be playing there, is, I think, a real benefit to what, like, they should be applauded for that, because I think that if they really were to sell out, they would be booking people like him and his friends. But the fact that they don't go that far, I think is a testament to how they're basically very hands-on, very intentional about how they approach what they do, and it's something that people should be kind of celebrating for. So for me, I just feel like he's in no place to say, you know, Rebecca Black is corny or lame, because he's way lamer in every aspect across the board. And but maybe in John Summit's case, or to give him a bit of slack, or to cut him some slack, maybe he's like saying this because he might have got aired, because I remember he made his tweet earlier to Charlie XCX saying that, oh, I've got this song for you, it's really really like the most cringy, barf inducing like tweet to try and get Charlie XCX's, you know, attention to try and be on a remix album, I'm assuming. And he probably got left on red or left on scene, and he hasn't been able to kind of like, you know, he hasn't been able to kind of get over that. And now he's seeing Rebecca Black at Boiler Room doing a mashup of a Charlie XX song. He's probably thinking to himself, fuck, how did she get a remix? How did she get one? Or how did she get that opportunity and I don't? You know, maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's a little bit of like jealousy, envy going on there, just because, I don't think of the career, because I think John Summit is probably a bigger icon or celebrity or artist than Rebecca Black at the moment. But I think in terms of the opportunity, he's probably a little bit gutted he didn't get that chance. And I don't think he's actually played Boiler Room. I don't think John Summit has played Boiler Room. I don't think so. He sold out a bunch of places. I think he sold out Madison Square Garden. He played big events. He's done what he's done. But let's be real. The EDM, the type of music that he plays, it's just so fucking bad. It would be a real shame if you got to see that on Boiler Room. Like, no one want to see that. So him going out here kind of pointing fingers is a little bit rich. Like, come on, bro. you're kind of bad, you know, you're kind of shit, let's be real. Your music kind of fucking sucks, so you're in no place to be pointing fingers at others. And Rebecca Black's a fucking legend, so let her do her thing. But you know, he wasn't happy. And then again, he did another tweet and said, do people not know that you can just pay Boiler Room to brand an event for you? They're selling cool and underground, it's a cooked concept. But that goes to that's the same. He's right, probably, maybe, who knows. But that could also be said for every electronic music event. Like, it's all the same, especially if they're not underground. Like, they're all doing that. Every single event has to do that, because that's how you make money. That's how you can keep those events going. Like, at a certain level, that's how you can book people like a John Summit. You know, an event probably has to brand it in a particular way, not for a particular person, but they have to brand it, and they have to maybe sell a version of cool to even afford to raise the money to pay a DJ of a John Summit's caliber. You know, so it's like, that's where we are at the moment. Like, are you gonna be playing for $1,000 for like 500 people? No, of course not. So if you want to be getting your big DJ fees, you're gonna have to be playing events where they're gonna be branded. They might not be the most core thing in the world, but they are what they are, innit? So the scene is what it is. And I think at the moment now, if you're Boiler Room and you're doing the scale of events that they're doing, I think they're doing a good job of kind of balancing it, you know, of like doing stuff a bit more that's tapped in within the local scene, local communities. I think they've got an actual thing. I think I saw it recently actually on their Instagram account, maybe, where they were posting these clips, or maybe on their YouTube, where they're doing this new thing where they're going to be highlighting collectors around the world, which is going to be quite fun, I think. Highlighting different party collective and nightlives and scenes and shit, and putting them up on their streams and stuff. So if you want to get tapped in to find out Wagwan for the New Delhi scene, Wagwan for the scene in Bogota and shit, you can find all these like local collectors and stuff that are doing great things, so that you can maybe get an insight into what they play, and then who knows, maybe next time you're going to book a trip there. So that's a really good way that they balance it. They're able to balance the kind of nightlife-y underground shit and also the kind of overground shit that they do with all the big brands and stuff. So I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. But I just think, in my personal opinion, that John Summit is in no place to say that Rebecca Black is corny, or that her appearance at the Boiler Room is making it dead. No, he's in no place to do that whatsoever. Rebecca Black forever. Rebecca Black forever, in my humble opinion. But again, what do I know? What do I know? Yeah, big up, what are you saying here? Big up Don Dota. In NYC, only finance bros and IG TikTok influencers go to John Summit shows. Yeah. I think that's part of his origin story, innit? That's why people like him. The whole like, I was an accountant and then I, you know, chucked it all away, or like, you know, put it to one side to come pursue my dream of DJing. Probably should have stuck to accounting, to be fair. It's probably a cooler job overall, you would imagine. But yeah, it's like, you know, whatever. The origin story is what it is. I think his come up has been really quick. That's been quite cool to see. And maybe he's quite a personable guy. Like, he comes across quote unquote normal. I think that's probably what people like about him. He doesn't seem to have like the biggest ego in the world. I don't feel like. Maybe he's different in person. But I don't know. I just feel like, come on, bro. You got to know who you are. You got to have a little bit of self-awareness. Like, you're John Summit. We've all heard your music. We've all heard the stuff you play. You know what I mean? We've seen the places that you're playing at, the pyrotechnics, the fucking 2 buttons down on the shirt. Like, come on, bro. Like, come on. Like, you can't be here pointing fingers telling people who's good and who's not good, and who's bad, who's dead, who's not cool. It's like, bro, we've seen you play. We've seen what you play. We've seen you play. You're in no place to talk. Please, you're in no place to talk. But again, what do I know? Nothing. So, continuing on. A quick way to talk about this, actually. This is regarding Watergate. So, 2 quick posts regarding Watergate. So, number one thing I want to talk about Watergate. The DJ Optimo actually posted this interesting series of tweets I forgot to mention in the last podcast regarding Watergate's closure. So as you know, one of the legendary clubs in Berlin, Watergate, unfortunately is closing at the end of the year. The owners of Watergate are citing the rising energy costs, rising rents and whatnot for the reason why they have to close. People like myself who've been to Watergate, who kind of have read between the lines, are probably saying it's probably a lot more than just that. It's probably the way that they've probably neglected to kind of keep up with the times, to maybe introduce a bit more fresh blood, new talent into the club, into the scene, encourage different collectives to do parties, welcome different types of people, change maybe the culture around the club and the vibe and the bouncers and how they select and door pick, blah, 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 blah. A lot of those issues I think have kind of now come to a head, and they finally had to pay the price for all those years of neglect. It kind of, in my opinion, the closing of Watergate kind of reminds me a little bit of Fabric, a little bit of how Fabric sort of like fucked up, you know? So, in my opinion, going on with that, read between lines, I was searching on Twitter and I randomly stumbled across Optimo's tweet regarding his experience at Watergate. And you know, Optimo's a fucking legend, great productions, great DJ, and he has some very interesting things to say about Watergate. This is Optimo on Twitter, at JD Twitch, sorry, let's continue. It says, I see Watergate in Berlin closing. We played there one time back when minimal was a religion in Berlin and straying from the orthodoxy was heresy. Before we went on, the main room was completely utterly packed. A very high percentage of people were wearing sunglasses. I decided to start our set with Love Can't Turn Around by Farley, Jackmaster Funk, which is a fucking legendary track, right? Love Can't Turn Around, oh, fucking amazing. Within seconds, people were going absolutely mental, not in a good way. People were screaming, no vocals, no vocals. Several people clearly did the throat slitting gesture at me, which is funny because I remember this being a thing. And I don't think it's a thing anymore, but I remember back in the day when I first was going to Berghain, you would see people like boo in the crowd if somebody played a vocal. Now it's kind of different. I feel like the Berghain booking is a little bit more fluid. I feel like there's sometimes what you would describe as a quote-unquote house DJ will be playing in Berghain. I think a good example of that is someone like a DJ Harvey. When I saw DJ Harvey play, he didn't play in Panorama Bar where you probably would expect him to play. He played on Berghain main room floor. So I think nowadays the Berghain booking's a bit more fluid and they're a bit more open-minded and they kind of let people experiment and shit. But I remember back in the day when I used to go, like legit, like if somebody on the Berghain main room floor played like a vocal track, even if it was a techno track with like vocals on it, people would like legitimately like leave the dance floor. Like it's so wild, honestly. Berlin is like another place. Like they don't fuck with that shit. They want their oots, 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 oots. They don't want any vocals, nothing. But now it's obviously kind of changed, especially if you go there now. There's people fucking singing along to bass lines, a bit different now. But back in the day, that was actually a thing. So this for sure, 100%, you know, can co-sign what Optimo is saying here. Continuing on. By the time I had mixed the next record, 90% of the audience had left the room. About 10 minutes later, the night manager came up and said he was going to close the room. We were meant to play for another 3 hours. We weren't ever invited back. I'm extremely not nostalgic for that era, even though I actually adored lots of minimal records. At least initially, I'm still sad to hear it's closing. Could you imagine being a professional DJ? Because it's happened to me before, right? At my kind of low level, playing at bars and clubs level, right? Where you get booked to play somewhere and and it's not going well, or the bar manager or whoever's not happy with what you're playing. Either way, either you're not doing a good job, or they're not happy with the job you're doing. It doesn't matter which one. And then they say, hey, or they just turn off your fucking shit, right? That could be hard, really brutal to take, especially when they pay you. I think it feels worse when they pay you because it's like, yeah, look, take your money, go. Like you've played for an hour, we don't want this anymore. Fuck off. It's obviously it's a lot more like you have a lot more right to be angry when they don't pay you. Like you can kind of fight for your right to get paid and shit, and you can kind of throw, like I do, throw the fucking race card at them, right, and get them all scared, right? But when they do pay you and they tell you to fuck off after an hour, that's like the coldest ever review that you'd ever get of like, no, you're terrible, get the fuck away from my club, I don't want you anywhere near anymore, I don't want you to play, no, you're wasting electricity, you're gonna kill somebody in here with your shit selections. So can you imagine being at this level, Optimo level, where you're playing at a club like Watergate, right? And by the time the next record, 90% of the audience had left the room. About 10 minutes later, the night manager came and said he was going to close the room. So they close your room because you're playing so bad. So obviously you'd imagine Optimo doesn't really have many good feelings about Watergate in general, but that kind of goes to show you why a club like Watergate was bound to eventually close before, before it had to, because of this type of like behavior. Even though maybe this was like previous management, still this sort of behavior, treating people badly at the door, not really respecting people's, sexual orientations and whatever it may be, or pronouns, being very stuck in your own ways, booking the same people again and again. So I'm not surprised, honestly, in my opinion, I'm not surprised that it has closed, because look at how they were treating fucking Optimo. You know what I mean? Telling them to fucking get off the decks and fuck off and shit. Absolutely crazy. But there's actually an interview here where the owner of Watergate actually speaks about why they closed. So I want to quickly read that to you. This is courtesy of the newspaper Berliner. What's it called? Is it Berliner? Is it Zeitung? Zeitung? How do you fucking pronounce that? The title says, interview on the closure of Watergate. Berlin is now in this wish mode. So let's quickly read this. And again, this is translated from German to English, so please forgive me if it sounds a little bit fucked up. So the owner of Watergate is Ulrich Wombacher, right? So let's hear what Ulrich Wombacher has to say. So the question says here as follows. Watergate has been an institution in Berlin's nightlife for 22 years. DJ Mag has just named it one of the best 100 clubs in the world. Yo, honestly, life can't get much worse than that, can you? You get named as one of the best 100 clubs in the world, and in that same year you announce that you're closing forever. Fucking hell. What happened? We're closing. Yes, we're closing. We're honored to be one of the world's best clubs, but for us, the situation in Berlin is crucial. It has changed a lot after COVID. Business simply didn't pick up. This is what I don't like. Again, I'm speaking from the outside looking in. I don't live there. I don't know anybody there. I'm just speaking from my own opinion and my own point of view of being there a few times and read between the lines. There's really no accountability from the owners about what they may have done that could have caused the closure of this amazing club. No accountability. Zero accountability. Zero accountability of what they could have possibly done that would have resulted in them having to close this legendary club. And like I said, it's legendary. Like, even just where it's at, like the venue, the location is so unique from what is available, especially in Berlin nowadays. Everything's kind of like warehousey, dark dungeon sort of vibes. Watergate is one of the nicer looking clubs in Berlin. It's just a nice kind of social, especially as a tourist, it's a nice place to kind of check out. It's like, I always tell people, if you go to Berlin, like, don't have your heart always set on Berghain. Try and go to the other places, because they actually have a pretty good range of clubs and interiors and shit you can kind of check out, and spaces in general, like a Sisyphos, right, for instance, like a fucking RSO, like a Trésor, like a Club de Visionnaire. All these places that are really unique, where you wouldn't get to see them in any other place in the world. And I think Watergate is a good example of that, right up by the river, amazing views, central location. It's probably got a little bit more of a commercial kind of like booking policy, but still it's a real shame that it's gone. Really, really a real shame. And I'm sure it's going to in some ways affect maybe some of the tourism as well, maybe going forward. So they said business didn't really pick up. Why not? There are two sides to running a club. There is what you see at night, the light, the glamour, but there's also the number side. COVID was over, we opened again, and then came the war, the energy crisis, and inflation. You celebrate the return and have to look at what you're actually celebrating. At first there was a need to catch up, which lasted for 6 or 7 months. Then the year was over and it hit hard. People just stayed away. This I can kind of agree with him, because I remember watching documentaries on or reading articles on ex-Berliner and shit, and hearing people were legitimately suffering. I think the mental health of most Berliners was affected badly during COVID, because a lot of their lives, especially if you're young, you'd imagine revolved around nightlife, and COVID completely decimated nightlife. Nightlife was the last industry, I think, in most places to open when COVID was kind of, rampaging and shit. So I'd imagine a lot of people were probably negatively affected and probably just wanted to get as far away as possible from that scene and never probably came back. But I also think, especially here in London, again, Fabric being a good example, I fucking hate Fabric. I think it's a horrible place, but credit to Fabric, bro. they really did a good job, like I think post-pandemic, really changing up their booking policy and whatever else it may be, and making it a lot more appealing to this newer generation of people who are going out, maybe highlighting and platforming some of the newer stars and giving them a platform, and not just keep booking the same minimal tech house people who they kind of are known for. They could have easily done that, but I think that would have killed the club. The fact that Fabric decided to kind of, okay, cool, let's actually give some of these sex parties and king parties and LGBTQ queer sort of events a sort of shine, I think has allowed them to stay above water and shit. And I think if Watergate would have done that, they would have been fine too, but they didn't. They refused to sort of like embrace that side of things. And you know, London's a good example of it. I think London nowadays, I think most people that go out can attest to it. The guys who are really running the scene now in terms of like putting on good club events are the gays, essentially. Everybody under the LGBTQ banner are the ones that are killing it. So if you're not in tune with them, if you're not fucking working with them and, you know, whatever, you're done. So the nights of like, you know, the times of just booking the same old top 10 DJs that get listed on fucking DJ Mag is done. That's not going to work anymore. You have to kind of be plugged in with the people who are really moving and shaking things. And Watergate, for whatever reason, refused to do it, and now they're closing it, and they're probably going to turn it into a co-working space. Fucking annoying. People look for other things to do during COVID. What's that? Yeah, people look for other things to do during COVID. Music is consumed differently. Digital has taken an extremely big step. The average clubber goes out 3 for 4 years, then they finish their studies or whatever, and next generation comes along. Generational jumps are quick in business. 2.5 years of closed clubs makes a difference. Yeah, that's true. That's actually a good point, to be fair. Maybe some of the people that were going to, maybe a big portion of their customer base did just leave and grow up. That could be a problem. Another one says, do you think that because of Corona, generation has not been socialized in clubs at all? He answers and says, they slipped into a time when people said that going out and being together in a confined space was not popular, that you shouldn't do it. And some of the older generation may have seen it as a welcome opportunity to say goodbye to nightlife. And because of inflation, people have less money. The previously criticized cheap tourism no longer existed. The airlines cancelled a series of routes to BER, and because there's now a greater sensitivity about short-haul flights, people prefer to stay at home and ride their bikes. Not a good club. That's not good for a club that is previously a magnet for people all over Europe. I think there's also maybe, if I was speaking for myself, for my own personal experience, I think one of the main reasons why I don't even go to Berlin as much as I did in the past is to do with the accommodation cost. The flights are still pretty good. Like, I saw a flight recently that I was eyeing up to go to Berlin Wednesday to Wednesday, and it's like $90 or something, £90. But the accommodation in Berlin now, especially Airbnb wise, is so expensive. Hotels, I guess, whatever, you know, but if you like, which I usually would prefer to go stay like an Airbnb sort of location somewhere where you can kind of, you know, have the kind of, you know, a 1-bed apartment or whatever to yourself and shit. That sort of stuff is so crazy now. And it's with good reason, because I think Berlin, to be fair, as a city, did a really good job in terms of clamping down on people. Because I think at the time, people took the piss. A lot of people were basically renting properties in Berlin. People that didn't even live there were renting properties, and then were renting them properties that they rented on Airbnb, and then obviously making tons of money on it. But then they were taking up properties, so people that lived there couldn't get spaces, and I think there's obviously a shortage of property there overall. So Berlin, in you know, basically put this rule in, which I think a lot of countries in Europe have, where you could only own a property if you're the resident there, blah blah blah, which basically made it hard for people to kind of, you know, do that whole Airbnb hustle, which I think affected techno-tourism way more, in my opinion. It affected techno-tourism way more than just you know, lack of flights coming in and out and shit. Because I feel like with that, it then put a lot more kind of onus on people going to hotels, and you know, hotels, they always kind of react to, you know, the demands and shit what's going on, so they hiked up their prices. So now across the board, it's probably not as cost effective as probably it was, as it once was in the past, to jump on a plane and quickly go to a place like Berlin and shit. But I don't even know if that's even true, because I feel like all my mates are still going to Ibiza. You know, all my quote-unquote normie mates are still going to Ibiza every fucking year. Like, especially post-COVID, they all went. So I don't really know if that's true. Like, I don't think the Ibiza, I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe the Ibiza numbers are down from what they were previously. But I feel like the pictures that I've seen of DC10 and shit, it's still fucking wall to wall full of fucking people. Full of fucking Mundeles just chilling, you know what I mean? Gurning from left to right and shit. So I'm not too sure if that's a good enough excuse. But anyway, what do I know? It continues. What proportion of tourists make up Watergate? He says on a good weekend, 50 to 60 to 70%. That's probably not a good thing, is it? If you're in a city like Berlin, that's known for techno, that's known for dance music, electronic music, nightlife, nightclubs, you probably shouldn't be happy if your clientele is made up to 70% of tourists. You shouldn't be happy about that, because you'd imagine they're not going to be the ones keeping the lights on, because the people that live there are going to be the ones keeping the lights on. You'd imagine. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. I'd imagine Bergheim is probably half. Maybe Bergheim might be 60% tourist or 50. But if you have 70% of your punters being tourist, that's not a good thing, because when it's a slow season, that club must be completely empty, like legitimately empty. Fucking hell. It continues. Berlin's myth is based on club culture. Is something changing there? He says, yeah, Berlin is individual. Small and established club culture has lost international relevance. It can no longer keep up with the fees either. Yes, Berlin is unique in the mix of it offers. There's the Watergate, there's Renate, there's Berghain, there's Else, RSO, About Blank. You go from here to there and can experience the city the way that way. I can't find that anywhere else. Nevertheless, it used to be really important for every artist to play in a club in Berlin, even for a small fee. Nowadays it's being skipped. Club culture, that's not true. He's waffling here. People aren't skipping Berlin for that, mate. If anything, people are just going to other clubs. I think the rule that they have, if I'm not mistaken, they've got this weird rule. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's this weird rule where you're basically not allowed to play in other venues. Like if you get booked at one of the big main venues, I think there's like a 2-week sort of like block, so you can't play a week on either side of that date. So essentially they kind of have like an exclusivity deal. So I think that kind of maybe sometimes negatively affects places, but I don't think people are skipping Berlin. I don't think that's the case. They've still got some of the best clubs out there and some of the best lineups, you know, going. So I don't think that's going to be the case, honestly. Like, come on, let's be real. Let's be flipping real. Let's continue. What is important now? Today people stage themselves on social media and end up on the big stages, for example, at festivals, without the springboard of a club. At Paul Kalkenbrunner's show at the weekend, 20,000 people were at the whatever that place is, and they all bought a ticket. The goal is no longer to make it Watergate or to Berghain. This was always already apparent before Corona, when the festival culture became so big. People in clubs notice that summer is no longer quite so strong. If you go to a festival, you won't be in a club for at least 3 weeks. Okay, good point. Berlin's attractiveness should be redefined after COVID, but that didn't happen. That's how it is. When you're doing well, you don't do anything, and when you're doing badly, you think if only you had. And Berlin is in this if this only had mode. Because when all the tourism glam goes away, what is left is the stripped down Berlin, and this here area in Kreuzberg in particular has lost a lot of its shine. So I think he's making a good point here, but I think overall he's also kind of missing the point, because I feel like on one side, maybe now there is a lot more from the outside looking in, I feel like Berlin's a lot more spread out now, and I feel like everybody is wanking over Bergheim as much as I do. I think most people that live there go to other places across the board, whether they go to forest raves, actual underground raves, other venues. I don't think Bergheim's the only place to go, especially with some people maybe being a little bit more politically inclined and not really vibing with Bergheim because of their stance or lack of, you know, comment about the whole Gaza situation at the moment. So I think that a lot of people now are starting to go to and making an effort to go to other places. Good example being RSO. I feel like RSO in the last 18 months has really picked up. They're selling out big events. They've got a lot of big promoters there now. They've got a lot of big DJs playing now. I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Freddie K play there recently? Else is another one as well. They've got a lot of big events happening there as well. Big collective, big DJs playing there, big labels doing their events there as well. So to me, it feels like if ever there was an opportunity or ever there was a chance now, you have more of a chance now to be a success as a club in Berlin because everyone now is open to other places. They're not just like dead set on their one place. Even like a club, also is another example. So there's more competition, but there's more willingness from the punters to try other places and not just be stuck to the same old Tresor Bergheim type of vibe. So I feel like it works on that side. But he does make a good point about festivals. I feel like now there's probably more festivals than there's ever been, and festivals, I feel nowadays, if you're being cost effective, they're probably more bang for your buck than going out on a weekend, because you get to see way more people over the 4 days and you pay less to see them, and usually, depending, it can be a funner time, especially if you go abroad. And if you live in Germany, or if you live in Berlin, they have some of the best festivals in Europe. Some of the best festivals exist in Europe, so you're only like a train ride away to visit some of these cool places. So yeah, maybe that's also affecting them, but I don't know. It sounds like an excuse, but yeah, look how beautiful it is. Again, like if you've ever been to Berlin, you'll know most clubs in there are just fucking warehouses and loads of exposed brick and shit and very industrial vibe. So it is quite nice to go to a nightclub that just looks nice, like this is probably why multi-sex is there, because this looks like a quote unquote sexy club. It looks a little bit more like, refined and chic and shit. So it is quite a nice mix up from what you usually get when you go to Berlin. So it's a real shame that it's gone. I'm not going to lie. It's a real fucking shame that it's gone. What do you think? The drug scene, the homelessness, the dirt, the impoverishment. Berlin can no longer rest on its laurels for being poor and sexy, because poor and sexy doesn't look so cool out there anymore. Again, I think he's missing the point. Poor and sexy has never been better. Poor and sexy has never been bigger. There's not much that it's sexy anymore. It's a total horror film. Berlin, especially Kreuzberg, has lost a lot of its charm. Kreuzberg, at least in its former 36, has a real drug problem, a lot of homelessness, crime, and other visible social problems. When club tourism and partying disappear, this will become even more obvious. I think this is the reason why they're closing, man. I think he just doesn't like what the scene is. This is the scene. Like, this is what it is. It's people raving amongst, the fucking destruction of their own fucking societies and shit and their locales. You know what I mean? We're raving, having a good time, waving our hands in the air while there's literal people outside sleeping in cardboard boxes and shit. You know what I mean? Cost of living has gone through the roof and stuff, and some of us are just trying to, pretend it's not happening by drowning and drugging up our sorrows. This is exactly what the scene is. Exactly what it is. You just have to kind of rave and shuffle and fucking techno stomp out of it. That's all you have to do. And I think he's probably hoping that something else happens, but this is kind of the scene. This is exactly what it is. It continues, and Balmer, whatever that is, those are the ghosts that, how do you even pronounce that word? Honestly, German is fucking crazy. Ballermann Falkensteinstraße. How do you even, let's see what it says on Google. How do you even fucking pronounce that? What the fuck is that? How would you even pronounce that? Please. What does that even mean? Let's see if we can see what that means. What does that mean? Pronounce. How do you pronounce that? Ballermann Falken. Let's see. I want to pronounce this. Ballermann Falkenstraße. Can we just say that? Or do I have to translate? Let me translate. What the fuck does this mean? Ballermann Falkenstraße. Okay, it doesn't let me. It doesn't tell me. But I would love to know how you. Is that Falkensteinstraße? Falkensteinstraße. Who fucking knows? Honestly. Big up everybody that lives in Berlin who's not from there and has learned German. You are a fucking G. Whoever you are, you're a G. Because that language is wow. Ballermann Falkensteinstraße. Those are the ghosts that we have partly summoned ourselves. If we close our doors, the Spatty, the local kebab shop, the Fred from the currywurst stand on the corner, they will see a drop in sales. Oof, that's true, isn't it? That's very, very fucking true. but the decline in tourism is already noticeable everywhere. That is clearly one of the reasons why things are worse in Berlin. I experienced a time when Berlin had no tourism. At the WMF in the 90s, we were happy if 500 people came. With tourism boom that began in the 90s, people got used to twice as many. Basically, the situation is now normalized and everything, except that we now know that a lot of clubs that were all maintained during COVID period now have to share the small cake. Okay, that's a very good point though. Like when clubs close around there, there is an entire, I think it's similar to every metropolitan city. It's the same here in London. Clubs kind of, they kind of create their own little ecosystem around them. So even a club like Fold, even though I'd imagine those off licenses around Fold are quite far, I'd imagine ever since Fold opened, I'd imagine that there's an off license near Carrington Station, if you know, on Barking Road actually, that's open 24 hours. I'd imagine they've probably seen an uptick in people coming in and buying shit. So now that Fold's open, it's probably improved their business. Same goes for the McDonald's around the corner. So same goes for, I guess, Berlin. Clubs, everything around the club kind of benefits from the club being successful, because everybody kind of goes to a local spatty to kind of buy something to drink, perhaps something to eat, blah, 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 blah. So yeah. Is everyone using their elbows now? There are no fights over distribution in Berlin. There's friendly atmosphere. We speak with openly with another. Why is Watergate closing now when the problems affect everybody? That's the good question. Good question, journalists. Why is Watergate closing now when the problems affect everybody? We in this prominent location right by the Oberbaum Bridge are among the first to feel these changes. Nothing lasts forever. The Berlin corner pubs are also gone, but for a long time we thought in our self-perception and our enthusiasm that we were irreplaceable. We were something like Edeka. We have always been there for the people who come to us now. We were there when they were born. Even their mothers were with us. They can't imagine us closing, but why shouldn't also be a temporary phenomenon? Club culture is incredibly fragile. That's actually true. There is something quite poetic about a club closing, or about you being able to end something. I think that's one of the reasons why I sort of fell in love with like Japanese streetwear. People like Nigo and Jun Takahashi and Hiroshi Fujiwara were well known for like starting little brands and then just like ending them, like having a little brand, having it run for a few seasons, stopping it and then changing it to another brand, renaming it or relaunching something else. So it kind of made whatever you bought at that time very sacred, very limited, right? Very special. But it was also kind of a way to kind of keep yourself fresh and kind of keep challenging and pushing yourself as a designer, and obviously pushing the customers. And I think there's something kind of cool about that with clubs, where like, hey, I went to this club at this one time, it doesn't exist anymore, it's not around anymore. So there's probably something quite cool about that. But I think they could have, if they were able to keep up with the times, I think they could have stayed open personally. But it continues. If you look at London, New York, how does Berlin compare? In the UK, clubs are dying out. There's no life extending support from politicians. That's true, 100%. It is radical. When there is no more money, the clubs closes. People here were envious of us internationally for getting through COVID. Ultimately, however, it only shifted the problem backwards. In London, promoters and club goers got used to the tough economic struggle for distribution very early on. The Berlin club scene, which is comparatively wrapped in cotton wool, has thought more and more about the cultural aspects of the work. Its emphasis will change. Its issue of rent, the questions of right location and competition all have been included. That's actually a really good point. That's actually a really fucking good point that he's saying here. Maybe in London, even though I complain about the scene, maybe the fact that promoters and clubs have to deal or have to work in such horrible conditions that basically aren't tenable in any other place, you have to make what you have to make out of it. You have to make the good out of fucking a bad situation. We're used to that. But places like Berlin, they're spoiled and they don't know how to basically, get their hands dirty. They don't know how to kind of figure shit out when their backs are against the wall, because they're so used to the good times being the good times forever and ever. And maybe COVID was the first time they experienced hard times and didn't know how to react or to adapt to keep their business going. So maybe there's a lot of good points there. And then that is it, I think. Speaking of rent, you have the same landlord as Club Renata, which is closing in 2025. Could you also stay in premises? We negotiated and received an offer but decided not to sign. Okay, so they did receive an offer, but it was too much, I guess, the rent. Yeah, I don't blame them. Imagine if they decided to renew your lease, but only if you pay double what you're paying already. Like, that's crazy, and you're already struggling as well, so it makes no sense. Does that have something to do with the amount of rent that you would have paid? It's always had something to do with that, but we didn't make the decision just because of the rent. Yes, people are queuing up at the door, but I can see the signs of the horizon. As a visionary, and as we once were when we opened the Watergate at this spot, we are perhaps just as visionary now, saying it's time for us to say goodbye. You're a veteran of the club scene. How do you personally feel about the decision? It's fine. I'm fine, sorry. I've seen 22 great years. I'm very grateful. And at 50, it's easier for me to move on. But there are people in their 20s in the city who want to build something and for whom the loss of the location at Watergate will be disastrous. Maybe it's time to go back to the underground, temporary uses, all the things we fought our way out of. It's no use us shipping everything to whatever that place is, because everything in the city centre is monetized. But the things that attract the masses, the things that make it possible to run a place like this, which creates long queues and glamour, all the things that the city was so fond of and adoring in itself, that will shrink. That's actually a really good point. Maybe that will inspire the kids now to start doing it, because that's something you don't really see. Again, maybe as an outsider, I'm not meant to know, but I feel like Berlin doesn't really have a lot of underground clubs anyway. There's no such thing anymore. I don't feel like that even exists. I think the last time I went to something that was underground was like, I don't know, maybe 2018, 2017. I can't remember the name of the club, but it was like had like a metal logo. It was in like a build. I forgot where it was, but it was like a temporary club space. And that was the last time I went to anything that was kind of underground. Nowadays, everything is like a legit club. So, hey, what can you do? Underground temporary uses, that wasn't much the worst thing. Underground temporary use, that wasn't the worst thing, but these open spaces don't exist anymore, at least not in the center. That's another good point. Not we went in somewhere, set up a system, and that was it, but you can't do that anymore today. And obviously that's the LED light show or installation inside of Watergate. Again, it's a really sad time, to be fair. Obviously they treated people terribly over the years, and maybe they have a lot to blame for them closing, but again, just as an institution, as a place to go, it is a sad thing that Watergate is closing. But again, maybe they have a lot of their own to blame about the situation, so they can't really look at anybody else but themselves. Who knows? Who fucking knows? So let's go on to the main point of this particular episode. I want you to talk about and just kind of explore what's going on with Connor and Mowalola. So I'm sure most of you know these two individuals from afar. Mowalola is obviously a very well-known fashion designer at the moment who's doing some big things herself with her own label. She's been known obviously to work with someone like Kanye. At one point she was meant to be the creative director, I think, of Kanye's Gap collaboration. At one point that kind of fell through, but she still kind of maintained a creative relationship with him in general, and her own namesake label has gone from strength to strength. Most of you kind of are familiar with her cap, and I think I made a video on the cap that she made as well. That was kind of all the rage a few years ago, and people were kind of fighting for them. And in general, she's kind of put on some really fun shows and shit, and made some cool shit along the way. Always also being involved in a little bit of controversy. She did a collaboration or collection, I think, a couple of years ago, where she featured a series of mini skirts with different kind of flags on them, and one particular mini skirt that had the Saudi flag caused a bit of uproar on social media, because I didn't know this until Mowalola did it actually, that you're not actually meant to put the flag on any piece of clothing and shit. I think it's got some sacred Islamic text on it, so it's not meant to be on any sort of clothing, especially not something like a miniskirt and shit. So obviously people from that side of the world went fucking crazy and were really getting at her for doing it, and she didn't respond in the best way. You know, she was a little bit childish about her reaction to it. Some of the criticism, obviously some people are going a bit too extra and attacking her for the design choice, but I think a lot of people also were trying to quote unquote educate her on why it was a bad idea. She didn't respond too well, but eventually she did remove that particular look, and I don't think it's actually even available for sale, and I think that particular slide isn't even available to actually view online anymore. So that's kind of, you know, where she's been at. And of course, I think the latest thing people have been raving about her, what she liked, is the sex top that she's made, right? And I think she actually worked on the wet t-shirt as well. I'm not too sure again if she might have worked on that Yeezy wet t-shirt, the vest that all the girls were wearing this past summer. that was like the, you know, the female version of the Vlone logo. It's going fucking crazy numbers. And then of course Ian Connor, a lot of people know him too for being, you know, a style icon and shit from back in the day, hanging around with Rocky and doing his thing on fucking Tumblr back in the day, his Revenge X Storm stuff. And now he's got his own brand. I forgot the fucking name of it. Actually, it escapes my mind. But in the last few years, he's kind of gone a bit, you know, mute and a bit underground because of these perceived allegations of him being a rapist and shit and a sexual abuser and all this sort of madness, isn't it? So a lot of people have kind of turned a bit cold on Ian Connor because of that, for the most part. So it feels like, what, a few days ago or maybe a week ago, all of a sudden it erupted on social media. I feel like on Twitter, especially on fashion Twitter, people talking about Mowalola and Ian Connor dating, and I didn't know that was a thing. But I think it kind of spurned from this particular show. Mowalola did a show for her brand for spring 2025 in London. That looked really cool. I don't think you can see the full collection anywhere. I don't think so, unfortunately. I think there might be a YouTube video actually I'll put on in a minute, but I don't think it's available on Vogue Runway or anything. But it looked pretty cool for me from the outside. Nothing too crazy, but you know, it looked pretty cool for what it was. And I think because of that show and because some of the things that people didn't like from what they saw on the show, the conversation then shifted around, oh, Mowalola not being a very likable person because now she's dating this Ian Connor guy. And I was like, what? That's really random, isn't it? Like, when did that fucking link up happen? Because I felt like before everybody was talking about this, or before that was sort of like leaked, I don't feel like I've ever seen them even interact on social media. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, do you know what I mean, much. It felt like they were purposely trying to keep their relationship off of social. So it felt like all of a sudden we all kind of found out together, like the internet. I think if you're in this industry, you probably would have known. But I think the rest of the internet kind of found out at the same time. So clearly both people, it felt like, were aware that people would react negatively to the news or something. And yeah, it's become a topic of conversation, mainly because of Ian Connor's allegations of rape and shit. That's it, to be honest. But also I think slightly because Mowalola has become a little bit of a controversial figure on social media because she's, you know, she likes to fucking fire back at people and people turn into, like, you know, she kind of feeds into it. They feed into it with her. It's a weird little thing that's going on there. I don't really see anything that wrong with it personally. I think some of her clapbacks are a little bit, you know, they leave a lot to be desired, but I also don't mind that she's kind of standing up for herself on social and kind of giving as good as she gets on social media instead of kind of crying and complaining about haters and trolls. And she seems kind of, you know, what I think was steadfast in what she does. Just from an outside point of view, I find it really, 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 really interesting how somebody like Ian Connor is able to, like, bag, for lack of a better term, women of this type of caliber in general. Not to be offensive to the guy, again, he seems like a cool dude. He's done some great stuff over the years. He's done a lot of like influential things in style and street style and whatever, and he's been involved in some really interesting movements and blah blah blah. But he legit looks like a gremlin. But he's been able to, like, you think of Raven Girl, you think of, who else is it? The girl from Love and Hip Hop, I forgot her name. This one, like, he's dated some like tens, you know, and he looks the way that he looks. It's pretty impressive, like pretty fucking impressive. So on that side of things, you have to give the guy a lot of props. You have to, you know, salute to the king, you know, salute, clap, 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 whatever it may be. I'm just curious, if you're Mowalola, wouldn't you have anticipated some of this negative reaction? Because I think that was a lot of the annoyance with some people online when this news was kind of put about. I think some people, again, you don't owe anybody an explanation, I understand, but I'm interested to know, would she have anticipated the negative reaction she would have got once people found out that she was dating this guy? Because people believe him to be a rapist and shit, and to be creepy and to be weird and stuff. Like, wouldn't she have been able to anticipate it, or did she just completely naive to it? Because I feel like that was the most obvious reaction that would have happened if people find out that you're engaged to Ian Connor, because of what people think about Ian Connor. And I think with her current situation, with people already not liking her personality online, it seemed like an interesting way to go down, you know, an interesting thing to go. Like, people already don't like your personality and think you're a bit annoying on social, and they're like, all right, cool, you think I'm annoying? Watch this. This is my fiance. Everybody just goes crazy. And in general, anyway, I've always wondered, maybe this whole thing about like sexual assault, harassment, rape, allegedly allegations when it comes to dudes, maybe it's not that much of a big deal as much people make it seem as. Because in media, in entertainment, in fashion, in sports, in fashion, in music, whatever, I don't think I've ever seen somebody that's been accused of one of those things who hasn't been in a relationship or had kids or family and shit. You'd think if a guy gets accused of like being a pedophile or gets accused of, you know, rape and stuff, you'd think that would be like a super big red flag for all women across the board to be like, hey, you have to run a mile. This guy's got some crazy allegations on his jacket. I can't even be around that sort of shit. But it doesn't seem to be a real deal breaker. You know, it's a case by case thing. So maybe the truth of it is most of us are just full of shit. People like to say it's a problem online. Oh my God, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. But is it really though? Because I don't think I've ever seen, there's not many rapists, sexual abusers, sexual harassers, or whatever, who are single. Most of them have like families. Most of them have like relationships, long ones, with other women. So clearly those other women don't really care about the allegations. Or maybe they don't believe the allegations. But then you'd think, even if the allegations weren't true, you'd think the allegations are so heavy, and it's rare that you just get people just say stuff about you and it's not true. You know, where there's smoke, there's fire, you'd imagine. Obviously, you know, allegations are still allegations. You're innocent until proven guilty. But you'd think for a woman, surely if they found out that you did something to a child, that should be a complete deal breaker, because they're like, hey, I can't risk being in a relationship with you because I don't know what you might do to our child. You know what I mean? Or what you might do to me. But it seems like most women, when push comes to shove, in the real world, they don't actually care. You know, they don't actually care, and this is proof of it, because everybody says that this Ian Connor guy's a rapist, but he's not short of women, he's not short of options, he's not short of admirers. So clearly some women don't care or don't believe the allegations. And I've actually always wondered what these allegations were like. So we're gonna do this in fucking real time. What are these fucking, what's this? Let's do it. Ian Connor allegations. Because so far I don't think he's ever been charged, has he, for these allegedly rapes or something, right? So let's see what's going on here. Let's see. How did Ian Connor escape consequences of 21 rape allegations? Yeah. Is there like a news article? Because a lot of these are just like Reddit posts. Is there like a news article? Oh look, why hasn't Me Too come for Ian Connor? Jesus Christ. Kanye West. Oh yeah, cool. So here it is. So let's do this one. Let's do this business of fashion one. Let's copy that link address and let's go to archive. And let's do it, because I want to read this in real time, because I've always wondered, what are even these allegations? Everyone always says this guy's a rapist, but I've never actually read what he actually has been accused of. Like, what are these allegations? Because maybe all of it is lies. I don't really fucking know. So let's see. This is an article from Business of Fashion from what year is this? 2019. Why hasn't Me Too come for Ian Connor? So this is Ian Connor when he was much younger. He's actually a lot chunkier than he is nowadays, isn't it? Actually, you know, I think COVID kicked all of our asses, to be completely honest. Where is it? I think it's there, right? Yeah. So he's a lot more chunky than he was back then, according to the picture. Right there, he is there with Mowalola. Actually, as you can see, Kershaw Stay Grounded, and this is the article from 2019. So Kershaw Business of Fashion, it says, Jean Doe or Jean Doe, was that Jean Doe? Okay, let's call it Jean. A Chicago-based musical artist said that she met the model and stylist Ian Connor on Instagram. After exchanging some direct messages, they switched to texting They met up briefly in Chicago, and after she moved to New York, they ran into each other again at a concert in New Jersey. A week or so after that, Connor asked Gerd if she wanted to meet in the New York Soho neighborhood to go shopping, but Connor didn't show, and after 20 or so minutes, Jean decided to leave. While on the train home, she received a distress call from Connor. He said he was running late because he'd been beaten up by an associate. Oh yeah, I remember this. Was this during that fight? Was this during New York Fashion Week when he fought fucking Bari? He was beaten up by an associate of New York-based hip-hop collective A$AP Mob while styling a shoot. Joan said that she could hear he was upset and felt sorry for him, so she agreed to come back. It was getting late, and Connor said that he had a place in Manhattan where they could stay before heading to the shops in the morning. Oh, this is like textbook fucking creep behavior, isn't it? Like always offering an excuse to go back to the crib. It's like, it's not even like a straight up come to mine. It's like, no, let's go to mine, then we're gonna go to the thing that you want to do. It's like, no. Always run a mile. That's a big red flag. It was getting late. Connor said he had a place in Manhattan they could stay before heading to the shops. Jean followed him to what looked like a cheap hotel, which she later suspected was actually a brothel. It was there that she claims that Connor raped her. To date, 6 women have publicly accused the stylist of rape. 6. Connor, for the most part, has denied the allegations made by Jean, which she first made public in Tumblr posts in 2016. As well as allegations by the other women. He did not respond to requests for comment prior to the article publication on Thursday. Connor replied to BOF Instagram post with a series of emojis. He did not immediately respond to the request for further comment. Ian Connor, in a post-Harvey Weinstein world, Me Too has become a global movement, blah, blah, blah. But there have been similar backlash against Connor. In fact, since the rise of Me Too in 2017, the stylist and model has launched a new clothing brand, starred in magazine editorials. The Mirror magazine proclaimed him one of the coolest it boys in fashion and attended fashion shows, sitting front row at the Virgil Abloh's debut Louis Vuitton show. Nothing has happened. Just as of recently, he's been more and more put in the media and pop culture. He's kind of found his way back into the being socially accepted. I really want people to start holding others accountable and holding themselves accountable so we can make progress in this industry as a culture. It seems like recently that that's changed. I feel like recently he's definitely, maybe it's by choice, but I feel like he's not as like visible as he was in the past. Maybe because he's also fallen out. Maybe it's also because he's fallen out with a bunch of people. But I feel like he's not really about as much, or maybe because of Virgil passing. I don't know. But I feel like he's not really around. You don't really see him at fashion weeks as often, or if he's there, people don't take pictures of him. Maybe there's like a fucking a ruling to like not take pictures of him and shit and avoid taking street style pictures of him. So maybe he does go to shows, but he just doesn't get papped. He doesn't maybe get invited to all the big shows anymore or get photographed and behind the scenes. I don't feel like he's, I don't know. I remember before when I checked the Instagram from time to time, he'd always be getting sent stuff from like cool designers. He doesn't really get sent free shit anymore. So things feel like it's changing a little bit for him. So maybe this is the consequences of it. But again, like nothing has really been, there's no real concrete evidence so far from what he's actually done. But allegedly 6 people have come forward and said something about him. So article continues. Muna Mia, a writer and associate producer on the television show Jesus and Miro, put the question on the internet last week. Did Ian Connor face literally any consequences? I feel like I see him in the background of Virgil's Instagram, she tweeted. Connor was quick to respond. If the consequences were more money, more power, and a clearer headspace, then yes, I face consequences. Oh, he comes across as such a cunt, innit? He's such a cunt, but, if he really didn't do it, then I guess, hip-hop in his shit makes sense. So Connor, 26 at the time, said, began his rise on Instagram. Okay, we don't care about his rise. Despite his 5'5" stature, by the way, again, 5'5" so far, I think every girl that we've seen him linked with publicly has been taller than him, innit? So props to him, bro. Props to the short king for bagging all of these Amazonian baddies. He continues, an unusual height for a male fashion model. He enjoyed high-profile modeling gigs from likes of Babe, Asher Anderson, Shangles Immediate Studios, as well as Kanye's Yeezys. Allegations against Connor first surfaced publicly in April 2016. Yeah, this again, so many allegations. Nothing has really stuck so far. I wonder why. Maybe it's not true. Who knows? Allegations since 2016, when Malika Anderson, 25, and a master student at Columbia University, claimed in a blog post that she had been raped by Connor in October 2014 in Decatur, Georgia. So somebody alleged that he raped her in 2016. Yo, this guy's had allegations against his name since the beginning, innit? Again, it doesn't seem to really affect his dating life because women still seem to like be into him. Clearly, as we've seen with the fucking Mowalola post that I mentioned to it prior, right? Him allegedly they're engaged now, or maybe already married. So again, I say, when women talk about, oh, you know, sexual assault and rape and stuff being so bad and all this malarkey on the internet, I wonder if this is just like social media talk, and in the real world they don't actually care. Because if somebody's had allegations, whether or not they're true or not, you'd imagine if somebody has allegations against their name since 2016, you'd imagine most sensible women would be like, you know what, I don't know if it's true or not, but I just don't want to deal with this. This is just too much. We don't even know each other, and you already have allegations on your jacket from 2016. Like, I don't want to deal with this. But he doesn't seem to have any trouble bagging the ladies. So I don't know, maybe it's not true, maybe, I don't know, maybe they don't believe it, maybe they don't care, who knows. It continues. At the time, she said that she decided to write the post when the police failed to bring charges against Connor after she filed an official report. The case was dropped, she said, due to lack of evidence. Although this is not, and that's the thing about rape and all that stuff, isn't it? We all know that, unfortunately, those type of serious, horrible crimes, they're really hard to judge, to fucking charge in court, innit? That's the thing. They're really fucking hard. Like, I think the conviction rate is like in single digits, especially in the UK. It's fucking really difficult for some reason to really kind of prosecute somebody for those type of things. So when people get away with it, it really isn't like, you know, because they're innocent. It's because sometimes there just isn't enough evidence to convict them for whatever reason. So it continues. Bing. Although this is not the ideal result of my choice to file a report against him, I do not regret my choice. The system isn't built for me, and that's something I wholeheartedly understand about America. However, I also believe that you never know what the outcome of anything will be unless you try. Jean, who was the early stages of her music career at the time of alleged rape, told her story in a Tumblr post in 2016. I wrote this for Malika, whose case could have been stronger if I was brave as she was when she came forward, she wrote at the time. Connor denied the allegations, tweeting, I, Ian Connor, I am not a rapist, nor do I condone rape in any shape or form. I don't respect liars nor forced situations. Please be real. Connor has since deleted the tweet. In June 16, Kadita Diallo told the Daily Mail in the video interview how she was raped by Connor when she was 16 and still I don't know, bro. I don't know what to make of this whole shit, but regular dudes don't just have like random people in their lives who say they raped them. I don't know. And he's not that famous, you know? Yes, he's famous, but I don't think he's that famous of a person that you would think he'd get targeted by randoms to make up false allegations. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There might be a mixture of it. I don't know, because America sometimes can be weird with fame and shit, and people making up things to, you know, want to be spoken about and seen and shit. But somebody who's like a niche, you know, celebrity or known person having this amount of allegations against their name seems a little bit dicey for me. Let's go back to this again. In June 2016, Kadita Diallo told the Daily Mail in a video interview how she was raped by Connor when she was 16 and still a virgin. 3 more alleged victims spoke up in a newspaper over the next few days. Jeannie Stampley, Taryn Williams, and somebody called Alyssa, who requested to remain anonymous. Connor denied the allegations too. So that's what? Daily Mail people, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people spoke to Daily Mail in June 2016. God almighty. Like Anderson, Stampley said that she filed a police report against Connor in Will County, Illinois, but it did not result in charges. About 9 months after I filed it, they called me and said that they were sending it to Canada where the assault occurred. I never got another phone call after that. God almighty. To date, Connor has denied all allegations of rape and other sexual misconduct against him. In July 2016 interview, he told Broadly, "I'm being accused of rape and I would never rape anybody. I do not condone rape. I've never raped anybody. Why force somebody to do something they don't want to do? Any force situation." I don't know. When you just stop there. You don't say this. If you didn't do it, just stop there. I'm being accused of rape and I would never rape anybody. Just say I did not rape anybody. You don't say why force somebody. You don't say that sort of shit. That makes you look a bit guilty. You just stop at the beginning. Anyway, Bins of Fashion managed to reach 3 of the 6 women who publicly accused Connor of raping them. They each reaffirmed the allegations. The accusations have received intermittent attention from the media and fashion community over the last few years, including a blog post by the Fashion Law, which laid out the women's claims and lack of repercussions in detail in February 2018. Even as the rape allegations began to pile up, Connor's stature continued to grow and in some of the most influential circles in music and fashion industry. Now, to offer a counter to this, there is a bunch of people in fashion at the moment who have gotten away with it. That Ludovic Descent, whatever his name is, he allegedly is a bit of a creep. Alexander Wang, that was documented, and I think that was actually legit. That's not alleged. He was fucking spiking guys' drinks with ketamine or MDMA or something, and then taking advantage of them sexually. And a lot of these guys came out and basically aired him out. I think it was part of an article. Eventually, I think he settled with some of the guys. But now Alexander Wang is like, he's got all the big models at his shows. People are going to his runway shows. His brand never died. People are still buying this stuff. They're promoting it on Vogue and shit. Photographers, I forgot the guy's name, but the creepy one for Vice, he's still around. Like, there's a bunch of people who've got allegations on their jacket who are still around. So it's a bit rich sometimes for people to like pick and choose which people they want to cancel, legit, because there's a bunch of people now who are still operating in fashion who probably shouldn't, right? Because they've done some very heinous, horrible, downright evil shit, and they've kind of got away with it because of their stature, because of the money they generate, because of who they work for, who they work under, what house they work, all this malarkey. So maybe this sort of thing is hard, because if you're not going to cancel those people, you know, how do you expect to cancel this guy? It's just difficult. Like, and I think this is not really a cancellation thing. This is like, there has to be charges, you know. The only way this is going to change is if somebody actually gets charged. I don't think you can cancel anybody on the back of an allegation. I don't think it should really work like that. But then I think the seriousness of the crimes that are being alleged, it should give people pause, like, oh, hold on. But fashion probably feels a lot more like sport. I feel like in sport is the same thing. Professional sports, unless you get put in prison, people are going to continue working with you, like legitimately. Unless you actually get handcuffed and taken to prison, people are continually going to work with you. So I feel like the same happens in fashion. Fashion people are going to turn a blind eye. They're going to pretend nothing's going on. They're going to keep looking at the up at the wall, looking up at the floor, you know, twiddling their thumbs. But the moment you get put into prison, everyone's going to like pretend like, oh my God, you're so horrible. But they're only going to make that decision, you know, when obviously the police or the authorities kind of get involved. So I don't know. It continues, but it's also a bit weird. That whole crew in it, ASAP Bari has some weird allegations against him. Like, that whole ASAP mob is like, it's full of fucking creeps, bro. Like, it's full of wrong'uns, full of fucking wrong'uns. I think Bari was legitimately on the sex offenders register, wasn't he? I swear he was. Bari was on like the sex offenders register, like legit. Like, that whole crew is full of some wrong'uns. That's my little brother. What the world gotta say, you gotta feel what I'm saying. He's a young visionary. ASAP Rocky told Rape Radar podcast. Wow. But to be fair, Rocky doesn't really hang around with Ian Connor that much. I don't feel like I've seen Ian Connor in the presence of Rocky ever since he's been with Rihanna. Maybe I think Rihanna's been like, hey, we can't have this guy around, you know? I'm a fucking billionaire. Like, we can't have this guy around. So I don't think I've seen a picture of. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I really don't think I've seen a picture of Ian Connor hanging around with ASAP Rocky ever since, you know, he's got a relationship with her. So maybe that says everything we need to know about what he thinks about him now. Rocky noted that Connor had never been arrested nor charged in connection with these allegations, adding that he preferred to not discuss the issue because it's a touchy situation that I would rather not talk about. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, I'm the wrong person to ask about this sort of stuff or to respond or to talk about this shit because I don't really have a big social group of friends. But if I did have one, I think in a group of friends, especially guys, if somebody has allegations on their name about rape and shit or kiddie diddling, you have to get that cleared up. And you until then, you can't hang around with me anymore. I can't be your friend. Like, honestly. Like, I really can't. Like, that sort of stuff doesn't happen to, like, randomly, oh, just someone just accused me out. You have to get that shit cleared up. You can't be around me if you got that shit on your jacket. Really can't be around me. So I'm not going to be the one standing around saying, oh, these are just allegations. She's never been charged. No. He has to deal with it. I don't have to answer for his crimes. He has to answer for them. Alleged crimes. Also, also in January 2017, Noah Stutz, a friend of Connor's, registered Revenge X Storm in California, marking the model and muse's official foray into design with sneakers on its own. Stutz did not respond to the request for comment. Connor's Vans inspired line of sneakers gained a lot of buzz on social media, with Kylie Jenner and Ablo being among the one promoted design on their personal accounts. Today, the $200 sneakers are sold at labels' e-commerce sites, as well as consignment stores in StockX and Grailed. Is that even still around? I haven't seen a pair of Revenge and Storm shoes in ages. Do they even still sell them? Or does he even own them? I don't know if he still owns them. Okay, you can still purchase them. They're available on Yox, anywhere between $80 to $140. They're available. They've still got their own website. Who owns it at the moment, though? They're still available to purchase, but yeah, those were one of his big money earners back in the day. Now I think he sold a few of these fucking shoes. I remember he sold a few of these fucking shoes, like a lot of these shoes. Hey, yo, big up Ashley in the chat. Wagwan to Ashley. Wagwan Auntie Ashley. What's good, Auntie Ashley? Big up the chat. What are you guys saying now? Big up. Yeah, random shows on the other channel. Just click home on my YouTube channel. You see the random show channel there. If I've got time, I might do one after. If not, I'll do one in the morning when I wake up. So random show will be coming either after this or when I wake up in the morning. So not too long. But check my main. Go click my channel, click home, and you'll see the what you call it, the random show channel link there. Or just do maybe I'll put the link in the chat in a bit, but give me a second. Big up the stream chat here. Big up this person called Alain, right? Alain. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your surname. I think it's Nayo Gushima. You say, to be fair, Mowalola isn't a regular woman with regular consequences. She and him don't live in the same world we do. Regular people is open to more scrutiny than someone who can hide behind money. Yeah, that's a good point. But I still don't think it kind of explains the choice. You know, like, I understand the scrutiny is not the same, but still the choice to like date somebody with those type of like, would she have dated someone like that with those type of allegations on their jacket if they weren't quote unquote famous or had money and shit? I don't know. You know, that's what I'm wondering. But I'm just also wondering. I think in general, it seems like, I don't know, like every time you see somebody get charged for like a rape or something, especially if it's a dude, how often have you seen them go to court alone? They're usually always holding the hand of some woman, whether it's a wife or a girlfriend. So it's like, how does that happen? That's what I'm wondering. This person's got these allegations. They've known to have them, especially like, let's say a footballer or something, right? And then, you know, they've had this allegation, they're being charged, they're going to court, and then they appear at court with this wife that, you know, is pregnant at the moment, even though their husband or their fiance has these allegations. It's like, I don't know, you just would have thought if you're a woman, a rape allegation would be like a scarlet letter, would be like a red herring, would be like a big alarm bell for you to like go running. But it seems like it doesn't seem to put a pause on people's decision as much as it does online. I think people online cap a lot. That's probably what I'm getting at. I think online people cap. I think online people make it seem like they have morals and principles, and, you know, this is my line in the sand. If I've dated somebody and I find out they're alleged of this, I won't date them. But in reality, that's not the truth. In reality, people do things very differently, as we've seen with them, you know, this sort of issue. But I don't know. Be up, Chris. Mike, I fly to Vegas Wednesday morning. It's 2 p.m. London time. You gonna be doing any shows? Yeah. Random show should be in the morning, so I'll probably do a really long one anyway. So whenever I wake up, I'll probably start one at about 11 a.m. my time tomorrow. Is it Wednesday tomorrow? Or tomorrow? Yeah, Wednesday. No, tomorrow's Tuesday. No, tomorrow's Tuesday. So later I'll do one later. I'll do one later, and probably another one Wednesday as well, actually, because of the TFAT case happening as well. So around then, I think that's what you're asking, right? I think that's what you're asking. Over the past year, Connor has launched a second streetwear label dubbed Sicko, Born from Pain. During the last season of Paris Fashion Week menswear shows, he scored a coveted front row seat at Ablo's high anticipated Louis Vuitton debut. You're spotted backstage at the Off-White show and sitting front row at the Matthew Williams 1017 Alix 9SM. He was among the Insta-famous personalities West cast in his Yeezy campaign led by Richard Kern, which hit social media in August 2018. But we know why he's done it, innit? Because Kanye doesn't believe in cancel culture, so that's you know, whatever. With the exception of the rapper Philippa London, who called Connor a dirty fucking rapist on Twitter following a fist fight in the now closed Parisian concept store Colette, none of Connor's high-profile associates have made public attempts to distance themselves from the stylist following the rape allegations. Ablo declined to comment for the story. While he has not publicly spoken on the allegations against Connor following the fight at Colette, he told Women's Wear Daily, "They're all brothers, so it's basically watching a bunch of brothers fight. It was totally fine. I looked at it like a casualty. I call it being a camp counselor. I believe you can just I believe you can't just like kids when it's good. I'm not an educator or anything like that, and it's not about that. It's just about leading by example." Virgil was really good at that, bro. Just saying a bunch of stuff without saying anything. R.I.P. Virgil, man. Long live the GOAT. He just waffled there and said absolutely nothing, but said a lot of words. Big up Virgil. Representative of West declined to comment. Representative of Louis Vuitton at least did not respond to comment. Often industry power dynamics disadvantage young individuals at the early stages of their career who feared speaking out about abuse will hold them back professionally. This was one of the reasons why Jean, who at the time was in the early stages of her music career, decided not to file a police report against Connor. My entertainment lawyer at the time told me literally maybe a couple of days ago, about what happened and what if I wanted a fresh start in the music industry, that I didn't want to bring attention to that. It kind of helped me make the decision not to pursue charges. Evermore was a reason not to go to the news and put my face in a situation. Oh shit. So this girl's basically saying that she was advised, like, hey, if you want a career in the industry, don't go with this because this is gonna harm your ability to kind of make a music industry is dark, man. Music industry is fucking dark, isn't it? Absolute the darkest. You generally feel like you got raped. You want to expose your fucking rapist. You want to make sure they get punished. But then for the sake of your career, you have to really think twice because it actually could harm it. I don't envy that situation whatsoever. Bloody hell. Blessings and prayers to those people. Beyond the allegation against Connor, a lack of legal action is not uncommon when it comes to rape cases. Often the more time that has passed since the incident, the harder it is to gather the evidence or specific details of the case. In some states, statute of limitation also puts a clock on how long an individual has to file a criminal report. Bringing a civil case can be costly. Yeah, I think we saw it happen in the UK. This one lady, which is really tragic actually, because it seemed like what she said was actually believable because she had a lot of fucking evidence of prior communication. She accused one footballer, I think it might have been Thomas Partey or something. I think she accused a footballer of rape, and she legitimately couldn't file charges because she missed it by like a couple of days or something. You know, she missed the window of being able to file a charge, and the guy quote unquote got away with it. So that's true. Conviction rates are super low, and then just the way to like charge and file for these sort of things is just all over the place. So, you know, monsters can kind of really get away with real murder. Police determine whether to pursue a criminal case for rape allegations based on the amount of evidence they can gather, said Sunu Chandy, legal director of the National Women's Law Centre, one of the organisations behind the Time's Up Legal Defence Fund, which works with individuals with civil sexual misconduct cases against employers. Whether somebody is telling the truth about sexual harassment or rape, and whether there is enough evidence for the government to take the case are two different questions. Whether someone's telling the truth about the sexual harassment and rape, and whether the enough evidence are two completely different things. One's about proof and the evidence and what will the court decide, and the other is about what really happened to somebody. So I guess if they feel like they can't get a conviction and there's not enough evidence, they just won't pursue it, even though it probably happened. Like Anderson, Stanley filed a police. This is depressing. Sorry about this. Stanley filed a police report, but told BOF that she regrets her decision. Jesus Christ. I was encouraged by people I talked to that it would be a. Sorry, I was encouraged by people I talked to that it would be good to have something on record saying that I had at least tried, but it was pretty much pointless. I shouldn't have done it because it wasn't like it did anything, and it was just too much. It was just too much for having me to recount everything. Yeah, I can imagine going through the pain and the stress and the emotional, physical, mental turmoil of recounting such events in extenuating detail as what police would like to do, and having people question you and maybe feel like you're lying and shit. In addition to being young, all of Connor's alleged victims that came forward publicly were black. There were specific challenges facing African American women in alleging sexual abuse. Evidence suggests that historically, being young, black, and working class and a female significantly contributes to some allegations of assault and sexual abuse by victims being dismissed by authorities and the wider society. In the final episode of Lifetime's documentary series Ivan Ida Kelly, detailing sexual abuse allegations against R&B singer Chance the Rapper, a Grammy award-winning black rapper, reflected, "I didn't value the accusers' stories because they were black women." What? He said that in the documentary? No way. Hold on, let me read this. Chance the Rapper said this in a documentary with his full chest. In the final episode of Lifetime documentary series Surviving R. Kelly, detailing sexual abuse allegations against the R&B singer, Chance the Rapper, a Grammy award-winning black rapper, reflected, "I didn't value the accusers' stories because they were black women." What? Why did he say that? Why wouldn't you believe their stories because they were black? What, because you thought they were groupies or something? Yo, Chance the Rapper, bro. That's the kind of quote that you don't want someone to remind you of later down the line. I didn't value the accusers' stories because they were black. Chance the Rapper's a wild boy. Chance also said that he regrets working with R. Kelly. Okay, regretting working with somebody, cool, but not believing the accusers just because they were black? Surely you just, why? It would have been better if you said, "I just didn't believe them because I just didn't believe them because the stories didn't sound believable," instead of just saying, "I didn't believe them off rip because they were black women." That's an insane thing to say. Yo, Chance the Rapper, bro. God damn. Studies show that black women are often stereotyped in the media as hypersexual gold diggers and baby mothers, while black girls are viewed as more sexually mature than their white peers. This is a long history in America of black women being perceived as unrapeable, said Moya Bailey, an American African American feminist scholar, writer, and activist. This perception is still prevalent today. So they're basically trying to say that across the board, rapes and sexual harassment cases are hard to get convictions off of, from, right? But then probably when you dig deep a little bit and then you start to focus on black women who have been sexually harassed or raped, the numbers are probably scary because there's this idea that black women are asking for it or something. Huh? Unrapeable. What the fuck does that even mean? So if a black woman's account of rape holds far less weight than a white woman's account of rape. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in this world, man. Fucking hell. Black women are also disproportionately affected by the gender-based violence. According to web platform Black Women Too, more than 4 in 10 black women experience violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime. Yet authorities are less likely to make an arrest on behalf of a black female victim. Police are more likely to arrest a black woman on the scene of an alleged incident following a report. Yeah, that's standard though, isn't it? I think that's across the board. Black people we've always seen that happen, unfortunately. Like there was one situation here in the UK that fucking broke my heart. Somewhere in outside of London, this like smaller black dude was fighting off all of these fucking neo-Nazis and white supremacists that were trying to attack him, when all the fucking stupid Mundeles here were trying to fight us blacks and shit for taking their jobs, and I don't know, stupid riot that happened previously before the football season started. Now suddenly the football's on and no one's rioting, but this black guy was trying to fight off all these guys, and obviously they overwhelmed him and started rushing him on the floor and shit, and he's really small, trying to push him all the way, and he's clearly getting beaten up by these crazy fucking thugs. And then when the police come, even though he's clearly the one that looks like he's been fucked up, they first go to restrain him, and he's small. He must be like 5'3", and all the other white guys they just disperse and run away. And it's like, that's classic. That happens all the time. If ever there's a skirmish and it involves some blacks and some whites or whatever, the first person that ever gets like restrained or held, even if they're the ones that are the victims, are the black people. It happens all the time. It's so fucking, honestly, it broke my heart when I saw that video, man. The guy's eye was literally swollen shut and shit. He was bleeding all over, but he was the one that the police kind of jumped on. It's like, bruh, like, he obviously received a beating. Can't you go to people that beat him up? Anyway, there is an intersectionality between the criminal justice system, violence, police violence against black women, domestic and intra-communal violence, poverty. So what does that mean? Intra-communal violence. What the fuck does intra-communal violence mean? I've never heard that phrase before. Intra-communal violence. Boom, boom, boom. What does that mean? Search Google. What does intra-communal violence mean? Intra-communal violence is a type of communal conflict that occurs when people with similar culture and family identities within a community engage in violence. It's one of the two types of communal conflict, and the other being intercommunal conflict. What? These terms, man, just make up terms just to sound smart. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Intercommunal violence? Huh? Anyway, as all these things collect into one issue, which is what our society does not value, respect, or believe in black women, communications coordinator at the Blueprint, a civil and human rights organization that seeks to empower women of African descent. So it's just incredibly daunting for black women to just find justice through the criminal justice system. But there's also a long history of black men in the United States being falsely accused of rape. That idea of black male rapists is something that black communities are very vigilant about fighting. So there's a lot of this disbelief and defensiveness when it comes to black men who are accused of sexual violence. Okay, now we're getting to the crux of it. Number one, conviction rates in rape and sexual harassment cases is super fucking low anyway, too low. Then when you kind of, scratch down at the surface a bit, when it comes to black women, it's also very, very scary, low numbers. And then there's also a feeling within the black community that black men sometimes get accused of rape falsely too often. So people are sensitive to when somebody gets accused of rape to be like, hey, where's the evidence? Where's the charges? So yeah, that might explain a little bit of the situation we're already in, Connor. And no snitch code has developed within the black communities dating back to the days of slavery to protect black slaves from being abused or even murdered by their masters for perceived wrongdoing, said Camilla Johnson, founding executive or director of the Sasha Center, a Detroit-based sexual assault service education agency. You keep the problems in-house no matter what, because you don't want to lose that family member, because we don't own dominion over our bodies, and our placement in the world doesn't save people, said Johnson. It worked for us for a long time, but what happened in this generation for a generation, these same rules kept getting passed down without explanation. Entrenched racism in the American criminal justice system only complicates matters further. Johnson said that she has worked with a number of black female victims who are reluctant to go to the police for this reason. It's guilt and shame and embarrassment and fear of not being believed. They don't trust the police system, they don't want to be a snitch, and they don't want to get that family member or community member in trouble. In the internet age, sexual assault victims who are vocal about their experiences may also face bullying from social media. Indeed, after going public with their stories, several of Connor's alleged victims were subjects to cyber. Yeah, that's true. I remember that being a thing though. I was there when it happened. I remember a lot of those victims are getting fucking... A lot of those alleged victims, were getting a lot of abuse online. I remember that actually. That was very true. This is not the attention I want. It's why I don't speak on the situation, said Jean. I really want people to stop focusing on the attention that they think the victim wants and put the pressure on the people that are being accused. I don't know, man. What do you guys think, man? What do you guys think? 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 Is Ian Connor a rapist or not? I don't know what to make of it, bro. I can't judge whether or not he raped the people based on his celebrity friends not saying anything, because fashion industry is like godless, right? A completely godless, principleless, lacking in morals, integrity, spine, anything, right? There's loyalty, zero. Like, you can't base whether or not he's guilty or not on his celebrity friends. But I don't know. For me, there's just too many allegations, man. Too many. And back when he was like popping, I could envision, again, not putting anything on people's jacket, but back when he was popping, I could maybe see a scenario where lines were blurred. Especially when he was like on fire, like all over the blogs, all over the mood boards, at every show, getting all the free stuff, Yeezys, whatever, the shoes, the clothes, the fashion. I could see those lines being blurred, but I just don't think regular guys who don't, I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, maybe this is common, but I just don't think regular dudes just have like 20 plus allegations on their jacket like that. Like, what? Why would you just have 20 plus allegations of rape? It's not even like he's got 20 plus allegations of like being a sex pest. That's something that's different, right? Oh, this guy is always in my DMs, he's always trying to holler. That's different. Okay, maybe a lot of us guys could probably fall under that banner, especially if you're being too horny and shit. But I don't think it's common for like regular dudes to just have like rape allegations on them, sexual harassment allegations on them, like in the double digits. I don't know, bros. What are you guys saying? So big up Alain. What's the thing? Big up. I don't blame them either. Okay, cool. What's that? You said I don't blame them either, but I also wouldn't feel bad for. I don't blame them either, but I also wouldn't feel bad for looking at them sideways and not associating with them. We all have the power to make decisions, and you make one, No, for sure. It's not that I blame them. I guess, like I'm saying, in my naive, simplistic male brain, I just assumed if you're a woman and you heard of a guy and you heard that the guy that you were about to date beat kids, imagine, right? He's a child abuser. You would imagine if you're a woman, that would be an instant red flag. That would instantly turn your pussy dry. Instantly. You could never, ever be interested in that guy again because, oh my God, what, he hit kids? Like, you'd run. Oh my God, he's got domestic violence charges. Oh shit, I'll run. But what I'm seeing a lot is that I feel like people on the internet say one thing, but in society, you see a bunch of abusers, creeps, rapists and shit, always in relationships, always married with other women. So clearly, people kind of like talk out both sides of their mouths, or they're just full of shit. I don't know. Because I would have thought if I was, again, trying to put myself in a woman's shoes, I would have thought that would be like a no-no. Like, I could never date somebody that, touches kids, beats kids, has hit women. Like, the type of things that women say, but, I wouldn't date a guy who isn't nice to waiters. I'm not going to date a guy who doesn't have a good relationship with their mum. It's like, bro, like, why are you dating a guy that's got, like, rape allegations? It's like, why? Of all the men in the world, like, why that one the rape allegations, Or maybe you just don't believe them. I don't know. Big up Chris Mack. Big up Muhammad. Who says here, bro, who can forget the video of Bari straight after Wireless 2017? Like, the girl was crying. They were recording her trying to force shit. Had to stop wearing. Oh my God, brother! It was after Wireless, isn't it? You're right. You know what made it fucking wild? If I'm not mistaken, she's in a room with that guy. Why do I know this? Because I was really fucking into those guys back in the day, following them on social media. But if I remember, the girl, I think it was a white girl, she was in the room with the other guy that's associated with those guys. I think he's also a stylist called, like, I think his Instagram name is like Prince Green or Green Prince or something. And that makes it even more worse because it seems like she was in there consensually with this guy. And then Bari comes in there like, yeah, I want some too, or some I want some too type of vibe. That's what made it extra dark. Like, she's in there consensually with this one dude, having her fun, and then Bari comes in with a camera recording. I think he even had a flash or something, if you remember. I think because the blinds of the hotel room are closed, and then he just comes in and lifts off the fucking covers. His boy, like, even his boy's under there. It's like, what are you doing? And like you said, she's crying, she's screaming, and I think he's like, what do you say? He says some like really dark, chilling line, like, I want some too. Give it up to me or something as well. He said something really fucking dark. I forgot what it was. Like, and it felt like he was almost like chasing her around the room. I remember that video when it went viral. Like, oh my god! And I think that's what that obviously killed Vlone, because obviously at that point, I think that's when he done his show at Paris, fashion show. He had that collaboration with Nike that got shelved. That kind of like killed the brand like globally. I think it was about to take over and be a really big thing, but that really kind of damaged the brand, and it hasn't been able to recover since then. Now it's kind of gone back to being a little bit of a, I would say underground brand, but it's definitely not as big as it once was. Probably why he's doing this other stuff now. He does Endless and shit. We're trying to change, names and whatever, do something new. But the name of Loans has been stained ever since that. And I think legit, I honestly do think he got put on the sex offenders list. I think so, but I could be wrong. Yeah, exactly. Big man destroyed his own work with that. Exactly. More than one. Smoke there. Exactly. Jordan Ray. Too many allegations for people who have nothing to gain. Exactly. Young old vibes. It's too graphic to be aligned with the kind of lifestyle you portrayed. Some of them I think are a bit optimistic, but the fact that more than one aligns with your character, exactly. I don't know. Again, I don't know, man. Nasty work. Exactly. That's it. Nasty work. That's the Jordan Ray. Nasty work. Let's see some of the comments. What are people saying here on the Instagram page? Courtesy of Stay Grounded. And big up as well, my nigga Luis Pisano. He's the one that kind of blew this whole thing up, by the way. Luis Pisano was going back and forth with Mowalola and I think Ian Connor online, throwing some actual interesting bars and jibes at them and shit. That was kind of funny. Actually, I think I might have it up here. Actually, where's his account? I think I might have his account here. I think he said something quite snarky to Ian Connor and shit. And I think that's what started everything. I think that's what started everything. So yeah, this is Luis Pisano's Instagram account. He says, totally normal response to somebody asking why you're working with somebody with 40+ rape allegations. Mowalola responds to him and says, why are you always on my dick, sister? Like always. She says, if wondering why you keep one of the most prolific industry rapists around you is being on your dick, call me Karen Steffens. Good reply back. And then he received obviously this DM that said, they're engaged. Wait, I thought it was common knowledge. Let me shut the fuck up. And then he also says, yeah, what else come here? I think he said something else. What happened here? Then he replies back, good journalism. Ian Connor replies back to Luis Pisano, good journalism, belt steel, sooner rather than later. So was that sooner than later? After than that, 5'4", trying to threaten me, LMAO. So to be fair, we've seen Ian Connor fight. We've seen him fight, and the guy hasn't got any squabbles, unfortunately. Maybe it's his size, but I think he might have lost a couple. Actually, no. He might have won that fight. Didn't he win that fight? I think it was at Complex. I think he kind of won. I think there was that fight at Complex that he did. He stood pretty tall on. But I think the one that we saw him fight, Theophilus London, he got the better of him. I think there was the one with, I think Bari hit him as well. I think he got better of him. I think he also had a fight with what's his face, Kerwin, in that house one time, right? That was with Playboy Carti. I think he got ramcycled. Yeah. Another one here says Dick. They're calling him Dick Depper. Okay. Worry less about what I'm doing with Dick and more about where your man is sticking his non-consensually. Yeesh. Another one says, Ian Connor goes to Luis Pisano. Y'all are cyberbullying heavy on the internet. Walk past y'all in real life with my young niggas close by and y'all look down. I see it in y'all's faces. I feel the energy when I walk in the room. And Luis Pisano says, of course we look down when you walk past. What else are we supposed to do when you're 5'4", nigga? That's actually good. I should have fucking that's a really good clap back, I'm not gonna lie. What else are we meant to do when you're 5'4"? Oh my god, what an absolute mess, man. What an absolute mess. Let's go back to the post. Let's see what people are saying. What are the responses? How the hell he be getting all these fine joints? Exactly. That's what I'm wondering. Like, again, guy looks like a gremlin, and again, no offense, we're all born with the faces we're born with. It is what it is. Not all of us are born with amazing good looks and shit. But he looks like the way he does. He's 5 foot something because he looks short in picture. So imagine how short he must be in real life. And the rape allegations. Like, he's got so many things against him, but he still fucking perseveres and shines. So he should be proof to all you incels out there who think you can't get any girls. It's all in the mind, man. It's all in your mind. I'm sure this will go well. Good things. Good things. He's an outstanding fella. In Mao we trust. Oh, that's funny that he climbing that tree. Good for them. Inshallah. Heartbreak. Corrupt. What's that? Corrupted tourism. I don't know. No one seems to give a shit. I don't know what's going on. Who knows what's going on? I guess God bless them in some regard. If it works for them and they're in love and shit, fair play. The Mowalola situation with her being kind of a bit of a, getting spats online and shit. It's interesting strategy, but I guess it kind of works with the brand and the image you're trying to cultivate. And I don't know. I kind of don't mind the back and forths and the kind of back and forth she's having with people online. I kind of don't mind her being a little bit spicy and shit with all that sort of stuff. But I just find it wild that you would openly date somebody like those type of allegations. But again, maybe she knows something we don't. Maybe he's not guilty of the crimes he's being accused of. Maybe it's all just a big takedown attempt because he's such a good person. Who knows? Who fucking knows? So big up them two. Big up them two. I guess we have to wait and see how this all pans out. Okay, my friends, that has been it. That has been the Agostino Zinga Show, episode number 820. Ocho de zero. Or dos. No, ocho dos zero. That's it. I think that's what in Spain. In Spanish, right? Ocho dos zero. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Excellent Zinger Show. If it's your first time tuning with the show, make sure you press a like button down below, please. Press the like button down below. Press the like button down below, I beg of you. If you're watching via the podcast app, listening via the podcast app, please leave me a 5-star review and all that good stuff. Links to the show notes and stuff and topics will be in the description when I finished. Obviously, timestamps will all be added and that'll be all there in needed. Contact link is also be in the description if you want to reach out to me via email. That'll be on there, and obviously social media links as well and all that good stuff. And my tune today will be a track from the latest Porches album called Shirt. The track that I'm going to be playing for you as an audio outro for the audio listeners will be Itch, probably Itch. So listen to that, but I recommend you listen to it in the entire album by Porches. It's fucking incredible. Another contender for album of the year for me. So check it out, Porches, and the track to play will be Itch. Thank you for tuning in to the Agostino Zinga Show. A pleasure to have you. Never ever a chore. See you very, very soon, my friends. Take care. Be safe, people. Thank you for hanging out. Peace.